I had to turn the music down so you can hear me. Welcome to the stream. I almost didn't put the Luna standee up.
Oh, God.
As soon as I say I almost didn't put the Luna standee up. Guess whose drunk ass just comes towering down? Hi, Magpie. I've been enjoying it so far. Now, what am I gonna do with this, man? What am I... Okay, hold on. I gotta switch scenes so you guys see what I'm talking about. Which button is it? Is it the cam button? Don't even know how to work my own damn setup. Look at this. What am I supposed to do? I want Luna to be here. But I'm so excited to watch that I don't even like... I don't even like fucking... I won't even... It won't even like register. How is everyone? Did the scene switch? Oh, yes, it did. It just takes forever. I am streaming through YouTube. That is correct. They can't even see the pile of cardboard on the ground right now. My cat is sneezing. We should get into the... Wait, no. Before we do this, we have to do this right. I have to remember what happened in the last two chapters, and then I have to recall what happened. That's what I do every time. So, I'm pretty sure everyone here already knows. The apple sleep experiment is a grimdark about, you know, Applejack wants to work harder. She takes some serum, fucking kills everybody. She gets locked away by Twilight. That is the abridged version. In another apple sleep experiment, it is believed that Applejack has gotten free, and now it's become this whole Kill Bill ass plot where Applejack is now trying to kill all of the remainders of the main six. For all I know, she has gotten to Pinkie Pie, and she's gotten to Fluttershy. The interesting thing, though, the very interesting thing, though, to me, personally, is that she didn't really kill any pony. Pinkie Pie is still alive. And, Fluttershy is presumed dead. There's been no confirmed kills. There's been no confirmed kills at all. But if Fluttershy got out of her situation the only way that I know she can, and that's fighting for her life, she's fucked up beyond belief. Pinkie, there's no amount of therapy that's ever gonna fix Pinkie again. The only other ponies that I know that we can target in chapter 3 are Rainbow Dash and Rarity. I don't know who's going to put up more of a fight. I just leave that alone. What? What is it? Oh, what? Does something happen to the room and now you can't... She probably just can't get out. If she keeps whining, I'll let her out. I don't know which pony is going to put up more of a fight. Because even though the easy answer is Applejack, here's the thing. Rarity is a lady. She'll fucking fight you. Like, straight, she'll fight you. She has no problem fighting you. She'll get down and dirty with any other pony. She just needs to be, like, provoked. And she's never provoked. Oh my god, my cat is so zoomy. Give me a second, I'm gonna let my cat out because now she's mad because the Luna standee is in the way of the door. If I let you out, you are not coming back in. Hold on, give me a moment. I think I've made it acceptable. I think I've made an acceptable thing now. Let me just turn this around. There we go. Alright, are we ready? Are we ready to do this? Are we actually ready? All these things getting in the way. My cat is gonna meow. Because now she's like, oh, now I want to be inside. I'm a cat. I hate doors. Alright. Let's... Wait a minute. I gotta hit you with the BRB again. Because now I gotta turn off the classical music. Shut up. Alright, now we're ready. Now we're ready for real. We are absolutely ready. Alright. Let's see what happens.
Warning. The following reading contains subject matter that some listeners might find disturbing or difficult to hear. Listener discretion is advised.
She said the thing! What fucking guitar riff is this? Wouldn't it be crazy if it's like, if this is not something pulled from like a sound website, this is just something like Lost just pulled out a guitar and just started like tinkering with it. They were like, oh shit, that sounds good. You should put that on the project. No! Why are you loading? I should also probably say that my internet is shit right now. I don't know what the problem is. But it's gonna load from time to time. I hope that's okay. Good luck, Wolfhead Brony. Would I need it? Am I gonna cry?
Luna's moon shone directly overhead as a strong autumn wind beat mercilessly against Carousel Boutique.
Don't talk to me about Luna's moon.
The gusts were powerful and eventually worked their way through small cracks between a window and its sill. Rarity jumped and gasped out in surprise when the pane gave way and opened to the roaring wind outside. She steadied her breath and trotted to the window to firmly press it back into frame. A voice called out from the room above the boutique and carried down to the nearly empty shop below.
What was that?
Rarity looked up at the staircase with chagrin.
Just the wind, sweetie.
Sweetie Belle.
To sleep.
Rarity called to her sister, but received no reply. She bitterly wished she could be like Sweetie Belle right now, warm in bed and drifting off to a contented sleep. But Rarity's tapestry...
Rarity is such a workaholic, isn't she? Like, it looks like death outside right now. And in this universe, like the Wendigos? No, Wendigoon is a YouTuber. The Wendigos fucking show up when shit starts going south. So if she saw like the face of a Wendigo, she'd just be like, well, back to work, I guess. Like, what do you want me to do about this situation?
These remained unfinished, so she could not afford such a luxury.
I wish I had that much talent. I have tried to get Lost to learn guitar for years. A woman wants to be serenaded. I'm just imagining Lost on like one knee, and she has a guitar, and Mag is right there, and she's like singing songs there. She has like I don't know why, but in my brain, she has like a fake Mexican mustache, and she's doing like the freaking Mexican like strumming thing, and she's like being overly lovey-dovey.
Instead, Rarity clung to the anticipation of a soft pillow and a proud sense of accomplishment. She just hoped that Luna's moon would still be in the sky by the time it became a reality. With the wind muted, the boutique's ambience quieted to the soft hum of a sewing machine, and the rustles of fabric fed into it with precision. The 13th, and the most elaborate tapestry to date, was nearing its completion, Rarity hoped it and the many other tapestries she had created would remain hung in the castle, or perhaps town hall, long after commemoration's conclusion. After all, these weren't silly ice sculptures or party decorations that could be cast aside at the end of the night. These were intricate pieces of art that Ponyville could embrace year-long.
It has just now hit me that, like, if Rarity is doing tapestries for, like, the castle, that means she also has to get paid by the castle. They are sitting on massive amounts of gold. Rarity, I've always thought that out of all 6 of them, Rarity would be the richest. Sitting that fat ass on some gold. I don't know why I called Rarity fat just now. Don't pay attention to that.
The sewing machine stopped on its final stitch. Rarity carefully pulled the tapestry free from the machine, cut the excess thread, and held it aloft in her magic. She remained stone silent as she stared at the silhouetted depiction of the stallion it bore. The drive and determination to complete her task was pushed aside for darker, unwelcome thoughts. She was familiar with these thoughts.
I mean, Twilight is a literal princess, so she should be the richest by default. You think that just because, like, you must think that the president is loaded. There are people, like, way more richer than the president.
Thoughts and memories, and chagrined that they assault her mind now.
She's rich. Why? Because she runs a kingdom.
Like the flow and ebb of waves crashing into a shore, there was no stopping their occasional flooding her consciousness. It was always the same memories, played out like a picture show, incessantly reminding her of the night that changed everything.
Rarity.
A night 7 years prior.
Rarity, why would you specifically... It's been 7 years since they locked Applejack. I probably said the same thing last reaction. I was like, how long has it been? And someone in chat was like, it's been 7 years. I'm like, damn, that's a long time. Now here I am reacting to the finale and the part before it. It said the same thing. And I'm like, oh, damn, it's been 7 years? I can't retain any amount of information.
A night whose secrets she would keep until her dying breath. That night began with such hope and confidence in Rarity. After weeks of study and preparation, Twilight was finally ready with a cure. No longer would Rarity have to hear about those massacres found in that once thriving apple orchard, or about the monster that lingered there.
Okay.
A monster that only Twilight and her friends knew to be Applejack. They all get...
This is what makes Applejack mad, because if Applejack was to hear these lines, it'd be like, oh, I'm a monster now, huh? I thought we were all friends. And then she throws a knife right between friggin' Rarity's face.
Gathered at the outskirts of Sweet Apple Acres, and each were given a small syringe of that mysterious remedy. Rarity recalled clutching the syringe tightly in her hoof, and feeling an odd reassurance of safety and hope. Her friends all felt varying degrees of anger, fear, and betrayal.
Yeah.
But Rarity felt conviction meant that the fault did not lie with the pony, but with the potion. Applejack, the real Applejack, would never allow such monstrosities to occur.
Yeah.
To Rarity, she was just an unwilling and unlucky vessel for dark magic to corrupt and possess. Applejack would be
Rarity has a brain in her skull. Let's go.
found, cured, and their lives would resume with normalcy and peace. This was the delusion Rarity chose to embrace. So, boldly, Rarity ventured out into that cursed orchard. To cover more ground, it had been decided that each friend venture out on their own, though even Rarity felt trepidation at such a prospect. She recalled the eerie silence in those trees, and the uncertain fear that hung in the air. After some time wandering aimlessly, she happened upon a victim yet to be discovered. Their desiccated corpse was shriveled and dried from the intensity of the heat wave Equestria was suffering.
Oh, yeah.
Enough time had passed that wildlife had already picked it clean of tissue and organs, leaving only bones and patches of colored fur behind. The shock and stench of decay brought instant tears to Rarity's eyes. She refused to investigate it further and give an identity to the poor pony victim, but made a mental note instead where to send ponies for the remains on the following day. Rarity swallowed her fear and repulsion and pressed onward. Soon after, she happened on a second undiscovered corpse strewn about the orchard in Rarity's path.
Chat, back me up here. At the end of the Apple sleep experiment, wasn't the orchard literally riddled with corpses? Like, you guys know I don't have the best memory. I remember they were trying to, like, wrestle Applejack to the ground, and literally in the background is, like, Cheerly hanging from a tree. Wasn't the forest just riddled with fucking bodies at that point? Like, this is a flashback, isn't it?
Then, a third. Seeing the gruesome death first hoof like this was weakening her resolve and corroding her sympathies. Rarity's hope wavered as dimly as the unicorn magic she used to act as her light in the darkness. Still, she forced her hooves to press onward. She knew she was getting close and was mentally preparing for the shock of what Applejack had become when she found the fourth butchered pony. At first glance, he was unrecognizable like the others, but the bloodied patch of fur bearing a cutie mark caught Rarity's eye.
Who is that?
She didn't want to believe it.
Who is that?
But her pinprick pupils landed on a torn mustache.
A torn mustache? The fuck has a mustache? Flim and Flam?
And finally, a wide and unblinking blue eye whose hue matched perfectly with her own. There was no mistaking him now. Hondo Flanks, her father.
Oh. Lost, I really thought it would be somebody I would know.
An overwhelming sensation of 1,000 pricks of needles assaulted her skin, and the world around her was swaying off kilter.
Wolfhead right before the twist. I can get this twist. And then the twist happens, and I'm like, what the fuck?
As if she could not find balance. Seeing some pony she loved so brutally annihilated had shattered.
F's in chat for Rarity's dad, I guess. What is he doing there?
Her resolve and her mind. Had her legs given out? Had she passed out?
God, she fucked him up.
Had she even screamed at all? Those memories were lost to her. All she could recall was being frozen in grief. And would remain on the orchard floor until she was discovered hours later in that harsh, hot sunlight.
I don't blame you for forgetting him. We literally only saw her parents
once.
Not even That's what I'm saying.
Belle, whom she learned after the fact had been in those very trees that same evening.
Oh no.
Rarity screamed out again when the same window she'd closed minutes earlier erupted into a cacophony of shattered glass. The gust of wind that followed blew out the candles that Rarity had lit to sew by.
Goody, can you put the glass back?
To steady her heartbeat, as she ignited her horn with magic to light the way. She walked carefully towards the window to inspect what had happened.
I almost forgot. Every grimdark narrator that I've ever heard in my whole life has a part in this play. Each and every one of you motherfuckers. Scribbler, Mag, Lost, and Goody, and narrator all have something to say.
However, her hooves came to an abrupt halt when she spotted what lay amongst the glass debris. It was small and old, rusted and weather-worn from exposure to the elements.
That syringe is just full of sewage. That's like shit water in there.
A long, cloudy cylinder held what appeared to be a solidified solution inside. On one end of the cylinder was a broken metallic tip that Rarity knew had once been a long, sharp needle. On the other, a plunger that was now rusted in place and unusable. She fearfully stepped closer, her mind refusing to believe it could be the very syringe she'd carried all those years ago. Before she could brave a chance to pick it up, however, she could hear a voice above the wind outside.
Lose something?
Hey, it's our favorite apple bitch.
That voice, the gruffness and graggle was both familiar and foreign.
Get in here, you card. Pull up a chair, drink all the alcohol. I'm just happy to see you again.
Rarity's eyes shut up to see a figure outside the boutique, shrouded in darkness and the haze of new rainfall. Swallowing back the lump in her throat, Rarity raced to the door of the boutique and pulled it open with her magic. She had every intention to confront the unknown assailant for what had happened to her window, but the rain pitter-pattering on the doorstep gave her pause. Getting wet was notably the least of her problems, but the
No, I can't make a joke about that. We're continuing.
Venture into it granted her some precious time to think before she acted. Was an encounter with a potential stranger in the dead of night really an intelligent pursuit? Rarity was rapidly weighing her options when the shrouded figure made their presence known and walked with a confident stride towards the door.
Applejack is that bitch.
Rarity realized she'd made a mistake and backed away quickly. She gripped the handle of the door in her magic to slam it shut, but it was too late. The intruder had jutted out their hoof to keep the door open.
Can't run away this time.
Rarity and the intruder were only a few feet from one another. But
Show
the
me that
aggressor's
beautiful
identity
apple
remained a
face.
mystery. The only light source at Rarity's disposal was her unicorn magic, but its meager blue tint did not offer her many helpful clues for distinction.
Alright. Okay, you guys know I gotta do this. Art looks phenomenal. I don't know who drew this, but I'll find out later. This is some good art. Can anyone tell me who drew it? I swear to God if this is Sunny again. Is this Sunny? Or is this someone else? Because this is really good. I see Applejack sticking her nose in the door. Rarity's gonna die. I think all of them are gonna die by the end of this.
Rain had flattened whatever style their mane and tail had been in before the storm, so all
Vladdy voices. Ah, he does do a lot of art for this kind of stuff. Okay, yeah. Been going off.
all Rarity could make out was
Really,
a
really
strange,
good.
sopping wet, pony-shaped figure inching ever closer towards her.
A small inkling started to build in the back of her mind.
When she heard that deep, raspy drawl.
Goodness, it's an absolute downpour out there. Come inside, you must be drenched.
Rarity's years of putting on a professional
There is the element of generosity, taking in all ponies. Just don't sit on anything expensive. Just stand around.
demeanor for customers was serving her well in this terrifying ordeal. She didn't know if this pony was dangerous, or if they could be fooled, but she held firm to the facade.
Does Rarity not recognize Applejack?
She motioned for the pony to come further inside as she forced a smile.
Let me get you some towels and perhaps something soothing to drink.
She asked, looking for any excuse to distance herself from this stranger.
Stranger?
Why'd you let me do that,
Rarity's
You know what Applejack looks like right here? She looks like those fucking like popsicles that looks like a face. But when you take the wrapper off, it does not look like a face. And then you begin to like if you leave that popsicle out, it looks like this. You know, minutes. And then it just looks like a blue blob. This is not Applejack. Applejack, what happened, Applejack? You're melting.
breath caught in her throat, and her hooves froze in place. Only one pony ever called her Rares. The only pony this couldn't possibly be, and yet
Applejack?
Rarity
Yeah, it's
dared
me.
to
Excuse my
ask.
face is falling
She
off.
brightened her horn's glow to take in the details before her. An object barely passing for the term hat was practically in shreds as it laid limp
Looks more like Twilight. It strangely does.
and wet atop the pony's matted mess.
Because this is supposed to be like her hat.
Eyes this pony had were sunken into her skull, listless and
and almost devoid of color. Her skin sagged in places around her eyes that made her appear far older than she was. It didn't help that the fur itself was paler than the warm orange hue she remembered.
Well, you see, the problem is that Applejack has not eaten anything in presumably a very long time. She is running on various mixtures of potions. She is operating like a fucking heroin addict. she's just like, you ever heard a story about, like, I forgot what drug it was, but like somebody somebody took some like cocaine or something, or salvia, and then ran down somebody and then bit their face off? This is the same shit. This is the same shit.
Like Applejack had been sun-bleached. Rarity glanced away from her face to take in the rest of Applejack's wrinkled,
She's running on Monster and the Red Bull. Don't mix those.
Applejack's frame was bulkier in places than she remembered, as if the elapsed time apart had been spent honing the strength that was present in Applejack from the beginning. When she let the terrifying reality finally settle, she returned her eyes to AJ's to find a piercing gaze that was firm and bore into Rarity.
I'm waiting.
Let you do what?
Waiting for a kiss? A kiss?
I don't understand.
That night, you and I both know what we
Rarity's
saw.
face.
Applejack said, taking a step closer to Rarity. She stumbled back a few paces.
Oh my god.
She could feel it in her temples.
Applejack, I couldn't. I mean...
Rarity scrambled for words. She did indeed know what Applejack was talking about, but she had denied that thought, that reality, for so long that she convinced herself it wasn't true.
All right, I'm doing a call out right now. Goody has got to read more shit. He doesn't have to do anything. I know. He's not going to hear this and then be like, you know what, Wolf, you're right. I'd get right on that. I would appreciate it if Goody read more shit. Goody is such a great narrator. And I think I've heard grimdarks from him the least. And he's so good at it. His voice is so distinct. So distinct. It's so good.
I don't know what I saw. I saw my father. That's what I saw.
Applejack cocked her head to the side in confusion, like she wasn't expecting that response.
She moved again, but pushed past a
confused and frightened Rarity to stand at her.
I like these different, god damn, these JoJo bodies. But I like these different art depictions, because sometimes they'll look like what we just saw, and other times they'll have literal JoJo bodies. Like, Rarity has pecs right now, and so does Applejack.
Her workstation instead. Applejack
What the fuck happened to your hat? This is like your favorite thing.
reached out with a withered hoof towards the tapestry waiting there and stroked the fabric depiction of Hondo flanks.
So what? You just gave up on saving me then?
No, I wanted to. I had every intention. I was just so scared, Applejack. I didn't know if you caught my case or not. I didn't want to be the next victim rotting in your family's orchard.
Rarity pleaded. Images assaulted her
Remember when I said Rarity would fight you? I don't think this Rarity is gonna fight.
mind as she was
I think this is a damsel in distress ass Rarity, and I don't like the damsel in distress ass Rarity. I want the Rarity from the series finale of MLP. I want this Rarity to fight back.
unable to force back the memory.
She did see Applejack that night.
It was after the discovery of her father's corpse. She theorized later that she must have found her before Twilight or Rainbow Dash had. She could have spared her friends and her sister from what was to transpire that night. Instead, Rarity chose to remain frozen on the ground, while AJ slinked back into the darkness.
It weren't like I was coming at you. If I hadn't seen you, you could have snuck up behind me with that.
Applejack motioned to the broken glass and the old syringe beneath the windowsill.
Is that actually the syringe from the first story? Is that why it looks like that?
Rain was
Wait, she kept it?
pouring in from outside, and a clap of thunder roared
She
into
kept
the
it just to
dimly
be
lit
super
room.
dramatic about this one
Rarity
moment.
was at a loss for words. She'd had that very thought time and time again, only now it was made real by the pony she failed to cure.
You didn't by chance see what happened to Dash? Why? What about them youngins, huh? Scootaloo. Did you see how it affected your sister?
Applejack asked. Rarity knew she was dancing around the gut punch, but that it was coming. Applejack stared Rarity down, as if she was waiting for Rarity to mention the name of the final pony present at that horrible scene. When Rarity didn't respond, Applejack's demeanor instantly changed. She took the tapestry in her bare hooves and tore at the fabric, ripping into it as easily as tearing a piece of parchment.
You evil bitch! That's why I love you. Also, Rarity looking kind of round right here, but you evil bitch! Oh, I'm so happy.
Please.
Rarity pleaded again, frantic this time and reaching out for her ruined tapestry.
What happened, Rares? What happened because you didn't cure me sooner? Tell me. I want to hear you say it!
Applejack tore into the tapestry again, but Rarity lowered the hoof she'd raised in protest. Guilt had encompassed her, and she no longer had the will to stop AJ from her destruction. Rarity took a couple of steps back, with her ears flat against her head. Eventually, she turned away completely, refusing to watch Applejack make tatters of her father's likeness.
Oh, I see. You're still lying to yourself, ain't you? You still think you're innocent.
No, I am not innocent. I know what I didn't do, and what I could have done.
Rarity snapped, bitter defeat in her tone. She'd suppressed this shame for years.
I guess Rarity is losing a lot of money with this. Yeah, are you gonna pay 500 bits for that, Applejack?
But knew
with your filthy farm pony money?
Eventually she would have to confront it.
I got 2 bits and an apple core. The fuck am I supposed to do with this, Applejack?
Hadn't expected to do so like this.
Say her goddamn name, Rares.
Oh, God.
Rarity looked up, in shock, to see Applejack standing on the other side of the room when she hadn't heard her make a single hoof
Bitch,
step.
you need to brush your hair.
She whirled back to see the remains of her father's tapestry, before realizing Applejack wasn't satisfied with just one tapestry.
Applejack, please. I know you're angry with me, but you don't have to do this.
Say her name!
Applejack screamed, tearing another tapestry down the center. When she did, Rarity's all-consuming guilt morphed itself into anger.
Stop it!
Rarity screamed,
oh, is she gonna fight?
Using her magic to rip the tapestry from AJ's grasp.
Is she gonna fight?
Exacerbating the damage. Applejack continued her destruction, while Rarity desperately tried to stop her.
I'm not the one who took dangerous magic from Twilight. I'm not the one who didn't heed her warning. I'm not the one who slaughtered pony after pony on my family's property.
She gonna fight? She gonna fight?
I'm not the one who tried to kill our friends.
Is it the prissy pony versus the filthy mud pony? Who's your yeah, Rarity's face. I mean, the smart money is on Applejack, right? But, like, I want Rarity to win.
My fault.
She's gonna go down. I don't want her to go down easy, though.
Applejack stopped suddenly at the mention of her sister's name. After a long pause, she looked up at Rarity with tired, soulless eyes.
There now. Was that so hard?
The gathered tapestries in Applejack's hooves were then unceremoniously dropped, and she walked away from this of ruined work into her hooves. Silent tears fell onto their shreds, but they weren't shed for the loss of art. No, these tears were for her returning guilt, unearthed and unyielding.
Hey, Sweetie Belle, I see you up there.
Rarity's head snapped up the second that Sweetie Belle spoke. Sweetie was standing at the base of the staircase.
Oh no.
Looking from
Oh
one
no.
side of the room.
We've already been over this. Applejack is not above, like, you know, taking out casualties in the way of her target. Sweetie Belle's gonna die.
To the other.
Taking in the sight before her.
When her eyes fell on Applejack,
She screamed in unadulterated fear and sprinted back up the steps.
something dark and evil started growing in Applejack's sinister expression.
What kind of rickshaw test bullshit am I looking at?
Rarity didn't know what it meant,
But she knew to be afraid. She tried to scramble to her hooves to stop AJ from whatever she was planning to do next, but was caught up in the tapestry's tatters.
How did you manage to wrap yourself up in your own tapestry at a moment like this? You can't turn your... You have to be... Your hooves need to be free. There's a maniac in your house. You need to defend yourself.
Jack, this is between you and me. You leave Sweetie out of this.
Oh, they're dead ass gonna fight. Let's scrap. Let's go.
All right? It's my fault. Just leave her alone.
It's me you want.
Her voice cracking as she ignited her horn.
Just gonna hit her with a sewing
She
machine.
levitated anything within magical reach to hover around her as makeshift weapons.
Hoping it would be enough to intimidate Applejack.
It didn't.
Sewing scissors, pins, bolts of fabric, needles, and even the sewing machine itself hovered around the frightened unicorn as she kept fighting to be freed from the mess of her ruined art.
You'll never understand my pain.
Applejack said coldly, her icy gaze falling on the scrambling unicorn without a hint of concern.
I lost my sister, so maybe you won't understand until you lose yours.
You know, I don't remember if I said it on the early Apple sleep experiment, but when Applejack kicked Apple Bloom into the tree, I always thought it would be not funny, but kind of like a very twisted plot point to have Apple Bloom be not dead, but like a paraplegic. Like she fucked up her spine in such a way that she needs to roll around in like a Professor Xavier ass wheelchair, and she needs to talk with like a robot. And then I thought, well, if Applejack sees her again, she might just mercy kill her, because that's no way to live.
A frightfully similar sensation took hold of Rarity at the sound of those words. Those 1,000 needle pricks and the nauseating swaying assaulted her body as it had 7 years prior. It was all she could do to remain upright as she watched Applejack ascend the steps after her sister like a bolt of frenzied lightning.
You gotta stop her.
No, Rarity wouldn't succumb. She couldn't succumb. She'd left Sweetie Belle in danger once before,
And this was her one and only chance to rectify that mistake.
With an outcry of fear, Rarity thrust every object she'd held aloft in her magic after the fleeing Earth Pony. She didn't wait to see if any of them had had any success before building up her magic for a second blast. The resounding explosion of light and destruction eviscerated the tapestries that held her down.
We can't worry about the tapestries right now.
There was no time to feel any regret for the loss, as Sweetie Belle's distant screams urged her forward with single-minded determination. She raced up the steps, 2 at a time, her tiring magic building for a third blast. She had just reached the doorway to Sweetie Belle's room when
Applejack opened the door and slammed herself into it.
As a result, the door lambasted Rarity with enough
Forced to send her
careening down the hallway.
Get up, you useless bitch!
Magic sputtered as Rarity screamed out in agony. She roughly
Oh, it's over. Sweetie Belle is so fucking dead.
collided headfirst into an adjacent wall. Through the cacophony of shrieking, dissonant tones, Rarity could have sworn she heard something crack. There was no word for the pain of it all, just a continuous and searing white-hot agony that threatened her consciousness with every passing second.
Mag!
Rarity refused
To give in to the comfort of darkness. She couldn't fail her loved ones. Not again. Not ever again.
Applejack's screams were barely audible over Rarity's pain, but she latched onto them as an anchor in reality.
Adrenaline wouldn't pump through her veins forever, so she had to act now.
She gonna fight? Is it like that moment from the finale when she threw the rock at Tyrek?
Then came the sound of Sweetie Belle's garbled cries. More anchors, this time pulling her to stand again. Her legs shook, each step a renewed tidal wave of needle pricks with increasing intensity.
You
She
gotta
kept
get
going.
up.
This was a pain she'd wish on no pony, enemy or otherwise.
She's gonna fucking... She's gonna, like, kill Sweetie Bloom? Sweetie Bloom? Sweetie Belle? What the fuck? I was like, that doesn't sound right. She's gonna kill Sweetie Belle and then, like, dip. I'm like calling it right now.
But she refused to relent. Her sight was greatly impaired, and her equilibrium suffered even worse. She fell flat on the ground, darkness encroaching.
Cannot.
A single stream of blood flowed from somewhere above her eyes.
We don't have time for this.
Coloring her vision in crimson before she swiftly wiped it away. Gritting her teeth, she crawled onward, then pushed herself up to her hooves and stumbled forward haltingly.
The distance to
Sweetie's room was the most lengthy and languishing journey Rarity had ever experienced.
This is a shot of
The
adrenaline?
opened door was within reach. As her hoof outstretched for the handle, hoping to steady herself with it, she caught sight of her sewing scissors. They had been part of the weapons she'd flung after Applejack.
Grab 'em.
And, in a pinch, they would serve her just fine. She attempted to ignite her horn and hold them aloft, but her magic refused to respond. Rarity let out a winded sob, gathering the scissors and hoof.
It's your only weapon.
of the cold, weighty metal in her grasp. It was almost
Identical to what it had been like that night with the syringe. The past had caught up with her at last, and her greatest mistake was played out before her again with a choice. Rarity's mind was made up. With a frenzied cry, Rarity rounded the corner into Sweetie Belle's room.
I'm just saying, like, it's pretty... While you were trying to get the scissors, it got very quiet in that room. I just think the deed is done. I think you're too late.
Applejack was waiting for her there, their hooves colliding together at the same moment as a clap of thunder roared outside. The pair struggled for control of the weapon in the darkness, and Rarity couldn't help but notice the absence of Sweetie Belle's voice. She could only hope by the princess's grace that Sweetie was unconscious, but all right. With each agonizing second, Rarity's strength waned. She was losing the fight, and she knew it. In a fit of hysteria,
Applejack is stronger than Rarity, but Rarity has, like, bitch strength.
she pulled away from Applejack, allowing her to keep the sewing scissors. However, Rarity thrust out her hoof when Applejack attempted to take a step. Much to her surprise, AJ's footing caught hold, and it sent the Earth Pony barreling to the ground.
Let's go!
Rarity could only watch in shock through bleary vision as the scissors were propelled out of hoof and skid in Rarity's direction. This hadn't been the way she wanted it to end. There was so much left unspoken, so much still unknown.
Applejack is too angry to hear any of that shit.
Didn't
You
even
know
who was killing her now, a mare or a monster. But Rarity couldn't riddle out her morality. She wasn't giving herself the choice. This was a kill or be killed situation, so she was going to commit. Rarity's body screamed in pain as she forced herself.
Okay, first of all, those aren't the scissors, though. That's an empty syringe. There's an empty syringe, Rarity. Did you look at what you grabbed before you grabbed it, or you just grabbing for shit? She's not gonna do it. Look at this smug. Look at this smug apple bitch. She knows. She's like, you don't have it in your heart to kill me. You can't do it. You can't do it.
Up on her hind legs, syringe held aloft. No. Not syringe, not scissors.
There was a sickening sense of falling.
Wait a minute.
And the pony wielding them, scissors. In pain as she forced herself up on her hind legs, syringe held aloft. No. Not syringe, not scissors.
There was a sickening sense of falling forward as the
Chat. Why would that change? Why would that change in that instant?
blades.
And the pony wielding them thrust downward. Rarity
Goody got the wrong page. Goody made like an error and they just kept it in the script.
braced herself for the impact with her victim, but the far more frightening surprise was the awkward stab.
But no, I'm not forgetting that happened. That's a very peculiar error.
Hitting not pony, but floorboard.
Rarity released the scissors as her body rolled to the side, senses screaming.
Somehow,
She didn't do it, did she?
Applejack had maneuvered out of the way of the final blow.
For the time being, the world was spinning too violently for Rarity to find the right footing to stand. As each second passed, dread built in the unicorn's veins. She could only will her body on for so long before it would refuse to respond, and she was dancing around that last shred of consciousness.
Rarity, I had so much riding on you. And then you just fall over?
Somewhere in her stupor, Rarity's ears twitched to the sound of thundering hoofsteps descending the stairs, followed by the sound of a door opening and slamming shut again. Applejack hadn't remained to finish her off, as she had expected.
Rarity slowly rolled onto her back, having to blink through the stream of blood obscuring her vision. She tried again to ignite her horn.
Oh, fuck. I think I just
time,
figured it out.
magic hiccuped to a dull light. Even just the act of turning her head to the side sent waves of piercing pain through Rarity. By some stroke of luck, she found what she was looking for right away. Sweetie Belle.
Rarity
she's-
gasped out in relief to find her sister so nearby.
However,
Who the hell is that?
Rarity beheld the horror of her little sister's face.
Yeah, she's gone, bro. She's gone. While you were fumbling around trying to pick up the scissors, worrying about trying to summon a minuscule amount of adrenaline, Applejack... Now I'm mad because I'm like, it's... What I'm going to say sounds very grim. What I'm going to say, it sounds like something Mag would write. Or Lost or Scribbler. You know how easy it is to crack the neck of a child? I'm not proud that I just said that, but I thought about it for 2 seconds and I was like, God, Applejack could do that in a second. Meanwhile, this fucking fashionista is stumbling around being like, oh, I gotta get the scissors.
And that relief vanished. Sweetie Belle's mouth hung open slightly, blood pooling there from unseen damage within. It leaked onto the floorboards and soaked her purple and pink mane. All Rarity could see was frozen fear in those damp, milky, and lifeless eyes. She whimpered, her horn's magic extinguishing on its own, sparing her from seeing more of what had become of her baby sister.
But the
there
scissors.
She was again, frozen in fear and grief on the ground, while the remains of her family rotted away beside her. This time, however,
This is kind of...
Rarity did...
This is extra sad, too, because Rarity lost her dad that I'm now finding out, like, I don't know, fucking 10 minutes ago. Now Sweetie Belle is gone. Rarity is all alone. Applejack doesn't want to kill the main six. Applejack is very sinister. She's like, no, I'm gonna make your existence a living hell, because to kill you would be a mercy. I got something so much sinister in store for you. That's Applejack's game right now.
Didn't get to see the stars or feel a night wind blow. She had to mire in the smell of fresh blood and viscera, unseen but potent. Darkness was the only mercy left to Rarity.
Two
but
loved
even
ones
that
dead.
lasted only for so long. A great flash of lightning from outside the boutique lit the room.
Wait a minute.
Left to Rarity, but even that lasted only for so long.
Mag. Mag. She did... Okay, I said she was fumbling around trying to pick up the scissors. She did not have time to write guilty all over the room, though. I've painted on walls before. That shit is time consuming. She didn't have time to do this. This Bugs Bunny ass outcome. Oh, God, yeah. Your therapy ain't gonna fucking save you either, is it? Give me my mouse back.
A great flash of lightning from outside the boutique lit the room. And it was then that Rarity beheld what atrocity
Applejack had left behind.
the acrid smells in the room weren't just coming from the corpse beside her, but from the very walls and ceiling. For even in that second of light,
dare you question
Rarity could see
Applejack's time
something
management.
scrawled over and over with her dear sister's blood. The red of it was still oozing and dripping freely, making it sound as if the rain outside had leaked into the room. Another flash as Rarity's eyes
Applejack has super speed. Yeah, we don't really know what the fuck is in those potions. She could be... Fighting her could be like fighting fucking Omni-Man.
beheld
The final judgment that Applejack had laid on Rarity for her crimes.
guilty, hoof-written and frantic, and found all over the walls, the ceiling, the canopy bed, the fixtures, and some furniture. Rarity didn't have the strength to make a single sound at this macabre sight. She couldn't even properly comprehend it, now that the sharp pains, once kept at bay by adrenaline, came roaring into focus. Rarity's heartbeats echoed the sentiment she now felt for her sister's untimely demise. Guilty.
Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty! She said the thing. Let's go.
Thunder clapped and the lightning split the sky.
For a split second, I thought that was a gunshot. Like somebody brought a gun to the back of Rarity's head and just pulled the trigger.
But Cloudsdale's Cloudaceum was unfazed and untouched above the storm.
Okay, now last but not least is Applejack. I am very curious to know, how is Applejack going to get to Cloudsdale? Yeah, and tell me she drunk a potion that makes her walk on cloud. I mean, it's possible, but...
Massive cloud structure was
There's Soren.
never truly in the same place twice, as it floated freely above Equestria. It was the largest active Pegasi arena, and the official home of the Wonderbolts, hosting their many races and airshow spectaculars. However, that was during the day, and at the present hour, it was long
Opal finally showed up and pulled the trigger on Rarity. Opal saw the whole thing and was like, I'll put you out of your misery. Kakak, bap.
past Celestia's
Nobody should
sunset.
live through what you've lived through.
The Wonderbolt's commander, was resting on a small section of the Cloudaceum's base cloud and reflecting on how unpleasant the place seemed when it was empty. He had grown accustomed to the sounds of the cheering crowd, or even the barked orders of his team captain.
Who, Lightning
It
does?
felt eerie to be absent from both. Even the sound of the
Do
rainfall
not
beneath
spoil
him
me.
couldn't shake the uncomfortable silence as he waited out the storm. Cloudsdale would never admit it, but they had been struggling since the infamous drought 7 years ago to precisely regulate the weather. Planning and preparing for rain used to be simple and easily scheduled, but even with the most precise timing and ingredients, weather machines seemed to have minds of their own from time to time. Even so, Soren hadn't thought much of staying a little late at the Cloudaceum that night, until he heard the clap of thunder that started it all. He internally kicked himself for fussing over their commemoration performance gear, rather than return home like the other bolts. He wasn't sure who to be more upset with. The weather workers who promised the storm would strike after the memorial, or the new recruit who had forced him and their teammates to endure a grueling practice with her exceptionally high standards.
Yeah, sometimes you get a new recruit, they just fuck up, and your whole team suffers.
Either way, he was stuck. He could technically fly through the rain, as he had many times before.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah, I'd rather
He
walk.
decided that fighting the wind, water, and lightning wasn't in his best interests, especially
My favorite part that I acted for this series is coming up in this scene. This specific scene, I mean, you are the Rainbow Dash VA, so I'm expecting you just to show up.
before a big performance. As he waited, Soren reflected on the destructive nature of the storm. He winced at the thought of all those perfectly placed outdoor commemoration decorations ruined by the torrential downpour. But as time wore on, Soren's eyes grew increasingly heavy, and his head slowly sank towards the fluffy cloud that held him.
Okay.
Before sleep took him, however, something swiftly broke through the layer of storm clouds.
And it's Rainbow Dash!
And brought with them a gust of icy cold wind. Soren reared up and gasped out from the
You rainbow bitch.
sudden onslaught of liquid spraying his coat and wings.
Soren, what are you still doing here?
The source of that gust, Rainbow Dash, asked in surprise.
Me? What are you doing here, Cratch?
Soren snapped back, using the nickname he knew she hated.
I left something in my locker. Not that it's any of your business.
You're always leaving shit in your lot. You're always flying around. Dash, go home.
Dash replied curtly.
Oh my
her
god,
eyes
now
narrowing in
now my cat is upset because she can't get back. I'm not letting her in.
disdain. She could usually take a ribbing from the other bolts, but Soren was toying with her last nerve.
If I wanted to get soaked, I'd just fly through this damn storm.
Soren remarked bitterly, shaking the feathers in his wings to remove any lingering moisture.
Wings.
Freedom.
Yeah, the art is pretty good here, isn't it? Yeah, Rainbow got a set of wings on her, and so does Soren.
A little rain, huh?
I'm not stupid enough to race lightning bolts like some ponies.
And if I were, I'd win that race too. What was our final race time earlier?
Hey, my name is Rainbow Dash, and I am the coolest character in all of fiction. Hey, if you heard of me, I'm Rainbow Dash. Hey, I could fart and it will never stink. Hey, have you heard of me? My name is Rainbow Dash. I am the greatest pony to ever live anywhere.
Oh yeah, 15 whole seconds ahead of you, wasn't it? Guess you better hope that Spitfire isn't looking for a new commander after that kind of defeat.
Rainbow chuffed. If Soren was going to open the floodgates for a verbal sparring, rubbing today's defeat in his face would be a perfect counter to that ridiculous nickname. Dash didn't ask at the time, but she wondered now if defeating every single Wonderbolt.
Half my chat is like engaged in the story, and the other half of the chat is like, show us the cat! Free the cat! I will free the cat. At the end of the stream, you get to see the cat. Right now, I'm trying to pay attention to the story.
In a one-on-one race on the same day was some kind of record. She knew that kind of defeat might put some of the bolts in a foul disposition, but it was worth it.
I don't want to hear it, Crash. You trolled us for hours over the routine. So it's not exactly a feat to beat us in a stupid race afterwards.
A stupid race. Try 9 stupid races. Practice couldn't have been that bad if I was still kicking ass. Can't help if you're that out of shape.
Soren gritted his teeth and sucked in a deep, shaky breath. It took every ounce of restraint not to start shouting in exasperation and fatigue. Dash wasn't normally this grating, but for some reason, today she was quickly eroding his resolve. Soren's only saving grace was the ebbing of the storm beneath him. After some silence, Dash continued.
I bet I could do it again. Right now. Even after helping Twilight with that pointless list.
You know what? You're on. I don't give a fuck if it exhausts you for tomorrow. You need to be reminded of your goddamn place.
I need to knock you down a couple of
spreading
pegs.
His wings in preparation. He had been resting for a better part of an hour now, and was confident that he could finally shut Rainbow.
See, now, the problem with this situation is that Soren cannot beat Rainbow Dash in anything. I think the most annoying thing about Rainbow Dash is that, like, she's overly cocky, but 90% of the time she can back it up. 90% of the time she can back it up. And that is the most annoying thing about anyone who...
The finish line.
Rainbow Dash didn't argue, her brow furrowing as a smug smile spread on her lips.
3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, God!
She screamed in rapid succession.
Who did this? This looks really good. This looks like a painting that needs to be held in a gallery. Oh my God, this is really, really good. Pew. Soren is like, wait, I didn't say go, oh fuck, ah shit, oh fuck.
Session, taking off like a rocket and leaving a streak of rainbow behind her. She could hear...
Is Rainbow really that great of a racer if she cheats all the time? Why would she hit him with the 3, 2, 1 go like that? Give him a chance if you're so confident.
Soren angrily shouts something in response, but was too focused on the race to pay.
Kitties by the Millions did this masterpiece. Oh my god, Kitties by the Millions. I love that name.
Attention. The cold night air passed through her feathers at a breakneck
Dashes
pace,
on bath salts.
chilling every inch of her fur. Its icy grip felt as if it penetrated her very bones, adding to the intense fatigue that she fought to keep at bay. Despite her body's warning signs, Rainbow gritted her teeth, refusing to believe that her ego had written a check that her body couldn't cash. She was so focused on victory, in fact, that she didn't notice the storm clouds dissipating beneath her until they were almost completely dissolved. When she was sure her lead on Soren was secure, Dash's attention shifted to assess her surroundings.
Okay.
It was something she did subconsciously when she flew. Something sour permeated on Dash's tongue as she took in the realization.
Applejack? Who gave the script to Applejack? You tell me Applejack is reading the story now?
That a heavy mass of trees was directly beneath them. She hadn't given.
And now it's Lost again. Lost is just casually shifting between Applejack and Rainbow Dash.
Much thought to the exact location of the Cloudaceum that evening, especially since the storm had previously kept her whereabouts obscured.
Mag has. I'm asking Mag because I don't trust Lost to tell the truth. Mag, has Lost ever spoken in an Applejack cadence, but she did it by accident? I am very interested to know.
Now, though, a slight fear was trickling up her spine and threatening to ruin her concentration. Could these be the
You
very
can't switch
trees
like this.
she had avoided all these years? Could she be poised just above the only place in Ponyville she vehemently refused to visit again? Rainbow's breathing quickened even more than the rigorous pounding in her chest. She tried to block the thoughts that trickled around the fringes of her mind by focusing on that final lap. It was ridiculous to allow something so inconsequential to deter her from her task. After all, a mass of trees is no threat.
She's literally just like
not
shifting
when she was
voices.
soaring hundreds of feet above them. Success was inching closer and closer for Rainbow Dash. Perhaps that was why.
She has spoken in an AJ cadence all the time. And I make fun of her for it every time, like a good waifu. I'm just imagining, like, Lost just being in the house doing normal shit. And then she drops, like, something on her foot. And then she's like, oh, god damn it. Like, that's a terrible Applejack impression, but you know what I mean.
Why her attention veered beyond the clouds. So assured of her win
Apple
that she could
Bloom!
focus on
It's
other
like, why are you
things.
calling out to
Her
Apple?
line
You
of
dropped
sight
something.
lingered on those trees, trying to coax herself into believing they were truly inconsequential. That was when a glint of light caught her eye. It was only a glimmer amidst the dark grove, but it sent a paralyzing wave of shock through the Pegasus. She seized midair, her limbs refusing to move to her brain's commands. An abrupt halt was too sudden and too late for Rainbow Dash's racing partner to avoid.
Did this bitch freeze herself to death?
So the pair of Pegasi violently collided. Although it was enough of a shock to bring some.
You dumb bitch. Alright, hold up. We gotta see what happened. So Soren collided with Rainbow. It looks like Rainbow broke her wing for the, I don't know, 15,000th time. Now she's gonna fall out of the sky.
Some life back to Dash's hooves and wings. The sudden confusion of entangled limbs left gravity free to pull the helpless pair towards their demise below.
How's she gonna fight Applejack now?
Both Pegasi fought to separate themselves, fighting, bucking, and screaming as they plummeted.
Gonna land
Dash
in
was
a
able
heap.
to get one final clean buck to Soren's chest before the pair descended into the trees. Branches reached up to rake across wings and fur.
It would be crazy if, like, they just die in the trees and Applejack comes to kill Rainbow Dash, and she just looks up and she's like, oh, I didn't even have to do anything. And then she just leaves.
Ensnaring the ponies in their matted clutches. The sting of fresh wounds meshed with the choir of snapping twigs and rustled leaves.
Like, Rainbow just, like, killed herself with her own fucking hubris?
Finally, Rainbow's flailing body impacted onto the hard, unforgiving ground. She heard a series of cracks, but couldn't be sure if it had been from within or from the rain of tree debris crashing on and around her. She laid on the ground, her chest heaving as she struggled to regain her breath. Her eyes were wide and afraid, barely blinking as they surveyed the scene above her. When the rustling ebbed, she ventured to look around to see if Soren had landed nearby. Rainbow struggled to right her.
Just a casual AJ. Well, shit. I had this whole speech and everything, you dumb bitch.
Finding her limbs heavy.
She's like, you talking to her corpse?
Laborious.
Soren?
She called out.
Soren is fucking dead, isn't he? He's gone.
Her voice cracking more than usual as she fought the rising terror in her chest. Dash couldn't see much from the limited light under the cover of trees, so she flared out her wings to take off in flight. The problem was,
your wings are broken.
One wing responded. Dash
You're
could
used to
feel
breaking
her
your
heart
wings,
pounding
though.
in her head as she slowly turned to find her left wing laying limp at her side. Seeing the marred, twig-encrusted, feathered mess was bad enough, but it was what else Dash's eyes beheld amidst the debris that delivered the worst shock.
What?
They were small, red, round, and straight from her nightmares. Dash
small, red, round. Apples?
reared back, every inch of her body screaming to flee.
Soren! Where
Apples?
are you?
Those really are apples. Okay.
Soren! Say something!
He's
Dash
gone!
demanded,
You
her
killed
mind
him!
Spiraling. She peered back up at the trees, but found only obscured shapes of leaves, fruits, and twigs against the moonlight. It was a sight she'd seen before, and
I really like... I know I made fun of her a little bit, but I really like Lost switching between her actual voice and Applejack's voice. It's really seamless. There's no definite point where it's like, oh, this is Applejack and this is Lost. It's always like very subtle, and then when it is, it like switches again. Like, I really like that.
aside from the damp soil beneath her hooves, everything about this place felt familiar in the worst way.
I told you, I don't want you. Fuck you.
Every Grimdark ever, how do I nerf AJ? Yes, fuck your wings. That is true, actually. I believe in Friendship is Tragic, the thing that Scribbler wrote, is Applejack just like, I mean, not Applejack. Rainbow Dash just gets her wings cut off. Terrible, terrible accident.
Sure.
What's happening now?
Dash swallowed hard. That voice reverberated in her skull.
Can you remove yourself from between the couch cushions, please?
Dull in her senses. She squeezed her eyes shut and held her breath. No, not now. She couldn't let the nightmares have control. For a brief moment, she lamented turning Twilight away all those years ago. She tried to insist that Dash speak to some pony about that night, but Dash stubbornly refused time and time again.
Because
Maybe
she's
if
Rainbow
she
Dash.
hadn't, she'd have some kind of method to utilize now that would keep this phantom out of her thoughts.
Soren?
Rainbow meekly called out again, unable to get her voice above a whisper. A gust of raindrops loose. The pitter-patter of droplets on the moist ground sounded like rocks colliding into boulders in Dash's ears. That musty scent in the air lingered in her nostrils, growing increasingly foul.
Okay, that is the smell of Soren's eviscerated body.
I am the inevitable.
She's like a boss in a Devil May Cry game.
Harbinger of fear. And the messenger of truth you silence with hope.
I am Applejack. I am the beginning and the end. I am all there is.
Rainbow's hooves.
Oh my god! Who did this? It's literally the Scream painting, but with Applejack. I mean Applejack. What the fuck? Rainbow Dash. I am inevitable. Fucking true, bro. Look at this. Oh, this is almost too good. This is too detailed. This is so uncanny. Oh my god. All right, we have to. I can't marvel at this all day. We have to keep going.
Them in her mind. When she bolted in any free direction she could find, she couldn't stay. What would have been the point? Her fear was already
Home Alone MLB edition.
Hundreds of feet in the air. She would be even more useless now.
It is the Home Alone poster, isn't it?
Her eyes scanned for any signs of light or life as she tried desperately to outrun her thoughts. So frenzied were her movements that she tripped and fell over an unseen object. When she hit the ground, she rolled until she came to a stop against something hard. For a long while, Dash remained disoriented, not knowing which way was up or down. When her eyes finally opened, though, she could assess that she was upright and against a tree. But her eyes fixated on the object that had caused her fall. Dash's breath went still in her chest. Even in the darkness, the shape sticking out of that dirt in front of her was unmistakable.
What is that?
It was a long shaft with a metal end that pierced the ground to remain semi-upright.
It's a shovel.
Though it was impossible to make out details with limited light, her mind filled in those blanks.
I'ma get my shovel. Every Applejack meme there ever was.
Even so, it just couldn't be possible. She destroyed that accursed shovel years ago.
You destroyed
it?
it?
Blacken and burn in that firelight. The metal
whoa, why are you destroying her things? Like, if you're upset that Applejack is gone, getting rid of her belongings don't erase the memories. What kind of logic is that?
Warping from the intense heat of the blacksmith's furnace. This must have been a trick. A mirage that phantom in her memories had conjured to torment her.
Or, and hear me out, she could have just got another shovel. You know?
That truth is that in the end, there ain't nothing at all except me.
Dash winced, covering her face with her hooves and shaking so violently she was sure she'd lose consciousness. It was all she could do, just to fight back the convulsions and gagging. Tears were freely streaming down her cheeks, until finally she pierced that silence by sobbing uncontrollably. Her garbled gasps for oxygen were the only sign that she was even still breathing. Dash gave into those years of suppressed anger, fear, and torment. She wasn't sure how long she had been inconsolable when she picked up a faint sound. Her ears swiveled behind her.
Oh boy, here she comes. Oh boy, here she comes. Those are the only lyrics of the song I know.
She heard the movement of twigs and leaves. By Celestia's grace, Soren was alive and nearby. At least, that's what she thought she heard.
You dumb bitch, you know that's not Soren.
Rainbow Dash. That voice.
Why are you crying? That's your wife.
Voice was low and ragged. Dash hiccuped through the sobs that refused to cease, trying to fight through that and met.
Right here in the orchard, of course. Where else would I be?
Applejack has really turned into like a Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, Hellraiser, Chucky-esque entity.
That voice was clearer now, no longer obscured by Dash's cries and whimpers. It wasn't quite what she was expecting.
We do not acknowledge Applejack in this house. All right, I'm sorry.
However, The voice sounded both near and far away at the same time, almost like it was carried on the wind through the trees. The tone was far removed from Soren's natural timbre.
I can't make any Apple Dash jokes, or else Mag is gonna turn my ass into a grimdark. You know what I mean?
But Dash chalked it up to the spiral she was enduring mentally. The branches above her started to quake.
This bitch is in the trees!
I can't see you! Are you hurt?
Dash responded.
Dash, you know that's
not
not Soren.
Conviction in her tone. Focusing on Soren helped keep her mind busy from the fearful frights around her.
I suppose, in a way, I am hurt by what you did, or at least what you tried to do.
Some part
Why
of
would
Dash
you
knew
try to get rid of her shoulder?
that pony she was conversing with now was not that same stallion she'd be groveling to for forgiveness later.
Oh, no shit.
Nevertheless, she carried on with the conversation without allowing her better senses to recognize the potential danger.
Can you fly? I think I popped my wing out of its socket. If you can just pop it back in, we can get out of here.
Rainbow said, realizing that she hadn't moved and her eyes were squeezed shut to remain focused on the task at hoof.
I won't ever go back. And nothing you pathetic ponies do or say can make me.
Rainbow's eyes popped open to pinprick pupils. As much as her brain tried to deny it, there was no mistaking that voice now. Word for word, just as in her nightmares. Rainbow couldn't face this. Not then, nor now.
I'm sorry if I don't have much of a commentary. It's just, I'm really enjoying this scene right now.
She had to escape. All hope for rescuing Soren was dashed as Rainbow leapt to her hooves and took off running again. As before, she didn't make it too far before she was thwarted. Though it was illogical, Dash witnessed limbs and trees shifting, reaching out for her and impeding her path. Their gnarled branches shot out from decayed trunks.
Now, I do have a theory as to, like, the big twist. Because the last time I was watching, the last 2 episodes of an Apple Sleep Experiment, another Apple Sleep Experiment, people in chat were theorizing because that was back when the finale didn't come out. I think I know what the twist is. I'm going to give you a hint. Nobody say anything. But there's no fucking way that Applejack can make these trees move. There's no way. And I'm coasting off of shit like that to reach my final guess. But I'll try to say it before the actual twist comes.
Blocking any hope of retreat, Dash didn't stop running, just changed course. To her horror, the process just kept on repeating itself.
Like, she could kick a tree and knock all the apples out of it. Fine. She cannot move the whole forest.
Until she was effectively imprisoned within the circlet of trees. Oh, we weren't done, the voice said. Though it sounded far less ethereal this time. Dash whipped her head in all directions and spotted a faint pair of green eyes glaring at her from behind the fence of branches.
You're not real! You can't hurt me!
Dash asserted, digging her hooves into the dirt floor into a ready stance. The eyes she stared into suddenly disappeared, though, and the voice responded to Dash's left. Oh, see, that's what I liked about you, Dash. Only pony I knew without a lick of common sense.
It would be hilarious if Rainbow Dash was like, you liked something about me?
Just a whole lot
Stop making those jokes. Mag is gonna get mad.
of stupid. Dash found the eyes again, only to have them changed to a position on her right. The only
I think that would actually work too. Is like Dash is too dumb to realize when she's being called dumb.
pony who thought she could carry me. Well, do you honestly think?
Yo, Wolfhead, you know what that double duty of Applejack voice acting and narrating reminds me of? The Chronicle of Curse Word, Lost narrator did a dynamic job doing just that. She did, and I reacted to all of it. I don't think Lost saw me react to it, but I did, and I really like the animation at the end of it. That reaction was really janky by the end, because I think I had the other camera, and that camera ran out of batteries, and no one could see my face. But, yeah, that's also a good grimdark story.
There's anything left to cure, Rainbow? Do you still believe you're saving me?
Shut.
Do you believe there's a God? Because if there is a God, it's fucking me!
Rainbow
Has this bitch been stuck in the branches the whole time?
screamed, charging at the trees where the eyes glowered into her skull. She beat against the branches between her and that taunting voice, tearing at them by mouth and hoof, like she was ripping trees from the roots to make her escape. As before, the eyes disappeared, but Rainbow didn't deter from her task. If she couldn't confront that assailant, she could at least free herself. Dash's brow was thick with sweat, and she felt as if every nerve ending was alight with anxiety. Clumps of branches, twigs, leaves, and fruit were tossed over her shoulder during her frenzy. After some time, however, Rainbow felt that sickening realization take hold. She wasn't making any progress. No matter how much she tried, that underbrush never thinned. Eventually,
She's just stuck. She can't go anywhere.
fatigue wrapped its jaws around Rainbow, and she slumped to the ground, hyperventilating.
Chad, has Applejack been narrating this whole scene the whole time, and I just didn't pay attention? Oh my god.
Her breaths were so loud, in fact, that though she heard the voice again, she couldn't quite make out what it was saying.
It just now hit me how weird it is to hear one of the ponies from the show narrate their other pony's death. It's like that same thing where it's like... It's like, remember when I first realized that, like, narrators are talking on top of each other, and I was like, that's weird, that's never been done before. Now they're doing a thing where it's like, oh, now Applejack is narrating the story. I'm like, what the fuck?
Every ounce of her being wanted to collapse then and there, but her unadulterated sheer will refused to relent. If this part of her prison was impenetrable, then she would try someplace else. Rainbow turned around and finally beheld the massive pile of debris she'd created. Her heart sank, realizing just how much she had fought through to no avail.
You're in a wood
Still,
prison.
Rainbow wouldn't give up. She took a shaky step forward, choosing a different patch of gnarled fencing to try next.
Does Rainbow ever think? No!
By the third
She
step,
does not.
Dash heard something abnormal. A shifting sound beneath the pile before her. She shook her head, rejecting the dread that followed the noise. On that fourth step, the shifting grew louder, and Dash could see movement from the corner of her eye. Morbid curiosity.
This bitch is about to get eaten by the piranha plant from Mario World. She's gonna get fucking Venus fly-trapped. Look at this! What is this? Why is there a Tyrannosaurus Rex made out of goddamn trees?
They caused the Pegasus to pause and see what was coming for her next. Branches were weaving into one another.
Okay, this description is... I'll tell you what my theory is before we get into the next part. But like, I feel like this solidifies it for me. This shit right here, this solidifies it for me.
Thickening themselves and casting off their apples and leaves in the process. The discarded leaves braided together.
Timberwolf? That is not a goddamn Timberwolf. That's like a timber fucking T-Rex.
Their stems, while the apples collected themselves into piles. The sounds it was emitting were more than just snaps and crackles. It also included...
It's not Applejack. Don't call her Timberjack. It's not fucking Applejack. It has a... She has a hat on. Yep, you know what? Yeah, you guys know where I'm going with this. All right, sorry, I'll continue.
Ground at her hooves began to shake. She beheld
Do not call this thing Timberjack.
Roots that slithered along the ground like snakes towards the amalgamation, further
Fucking
strengthening
Timberjack.
it. Dash wrenched herself away from the bewildering sight.
Oh, what's the matter, Applejack? Is there a problem?
She would dig her way through the muddy soil at her hooves, mud slung in every direction, as the hysterical mare fought for freedom. A taunting laughter filled Dash's ears. She grunted through gritted teeth, frustrated that the mud she excavated would end up sloshing back into place. However, she didn't stop her fruitless endeavor until the shovel from earlier whizzed past her and planted itself into the muddy mound by her side. Here, try this.
She's got the hat, therefore it's Applejack. It's sound logic. How many ponies you know in MLP wear a hat? It's only Applejack. Don't look it up. I'm right. Don't look it up.
Ish reached for the shovel before turning to see the final conglomerated monster in the center of
what the fuck?
Prison. The creature was as tall as the trees that bound Dash, though vaguely pony.
Why does this have to fight Rainbow Dash? She just... When it was every other pony, she killed them herself. Now with Rainbow Dash, she's like a conjurer in World of Warcraft. She's conjuring up shit to take care of her problems.
Twisted roots, branches, and bark made up the limbs and torso, while the leaves cascaded from the tree like a mane and tail. 6 apples.
Every other pony she got up close and personal. With Rainbow Dash, she just stands in the back and goes, I cast Stone Golem.
Adorned its wooded flanks. Perhaps eeriest of all was the eyes on the pony-shaped face. 2 sunken indents of writhing, contorting limbs wove themselves in and out of the massive hollowed sockets. When Dash lingered on the darkness within them, however, she could make out a faint image. Dash squinted her eyes, leaning forward slightly in hopes the shape would manifest itself clearer in her vision. A strange shimmer, almost like a veil of dew, was reflected.
Remember when you worried about how AJ would get to Cloudsdale? Good times, good times. Yeah, I should have had the forethought to be like, well, knowing Rainbow Dash, she'll probably just crash down to the earth, just being herself.
And from the darkness, within that shimmer, Dash watched 2 smaller ponies take form. The ponies were identical, shy and frightened little mares, clinging to their last shred of sanity. Blues came into focus, then reds, yellows. Then a whole
It's Applejack, the Dark Souls enemy.
These mares weren't real. Well, they were just reflections.
Yeah, you got to defeat her after you fight Ornstein and Smo. I remember that level.
Dash was watching mirrored images of herself retreating away from her and further into the darkness. This creature wasn't just an enlarged pony Timberwolf. It was a demon. At first, the thing appeared rooted to the ground until Dash gave it the attention it wanted. The left forehoof then lifted itself, roots snapping from place until it came back down hard, only a few inches away from its prey. Dash yelped and bolted, keeping the shovel in her tight grasp.
You wanted to kill me that night.
A voice that Rainbow Dash finally accepted to be, well, me, said.
Shut up and read the story, Applejack. Now's not time to be cheeky.
Simultaneously.
Here's your chance, Rainbow. Fix your mistake.
Oh my God!
Rainbow screamed an agitated, frightened cry as she thrusted that shovel into the thicket of branches.
During that recording session, they had to do a lot of apologizing to the neighbors.
Behind her. Attacking the confinement's walls seemed a smarter bet than the monster itself.
Both monster and
No, Rainbow, you gotta put all your points into dexterity. That's how you defeat the bosses the fastest.
pony roared with laughter when the shovel bounced off a branch and twig, as if made from a sturdy metal and not wood. Dash knew that there would be no other way out of this hell until she faced and conquered that demon. If I wanted a fight, well, she best better give me one. With murderous intent, Dash started hacking away at the beast with shovel in hoof. To her delight, however, the monster was penetrable. Chunks of orchard debris fell off in heaps with every successful attack. The monster wasn't remaining dormant. Earth-shattering stomps were made by tremendous hooves, each one unsuccessful. The massive head lowered to ram into the small Pegasus prey, but it too would find only failure. Rainbow took great satisfaction seeing the beast ram into their wooded prison walls, and large pieces of itself snap and fall away. Even more gratifying were the outcries of anger and pain coming from that.
Everybody in my chat is like, no spoilers, but I don't see any spoilers. I don't see any spoilers. Why am I looking for spoilers? I should just pay attention to the story.
As well as the voice from beyond the confinement. As Dash whittled the monster down, her confidence and her anger only grew. As it said, she should have killed me that night. That Twilight Sparkle. She was a fool to insist.
Don't look at chat. All right, fine.
They could clearly see the irreversible evil that I had done. It didn't matter how I got free, or how I came to be here. It didn't matter what strange magic I had invoked now. This was a gift. This was Dash's chance to truly save Equestria.
I mean, she's gonna try her damnedest even though she has a broken wing. This legit is just a Dark Souls boss. We were joking around, but look at this thing, dude.
The right way. Dash had almost completely dismantled the orchard monster when she caught sight of something that surged exhilaration through her body. Blood. The pony who wielded this behemoth must have been at its core. Dash didn't hesitate. She took the shovel in both front hooves and pierced it completely through the center of that creature.
Applejack is in the heart of the golem. She's piloting this thing like a fucking Gundam. Get in the robot, Applejack.
The monster screamed in bloody agony before slumping to the ground, the rest of the flora falling away. Simultaneously, the branch barriers between the trees shriveled and dropped, opening several escape paths into the orchard. Dash was clutching her chest as she tried to steady her breath, relieved to finally be free. That was, until some branches gave way to show an orange earth mare standing proud among the trees. Her green eyes glinted in that
there
darkness,
she is,
while an evil smirk,
you beautiful bitch,
played on her lips. Dread filled Dash's mind. If I was still there, then who did she? Dash knew she shouldn't look. She knew that I had played her for a fool. She knew exactly what she was gonna see when she turned around to look at the remains of that monster. She knew, but she also couldn't stop herself from confirming it.
No, please.
Dash turned her head to see the murderous shovel standing proud in the back of her pony prey.
Oh, she wasn't fighting a golem at all. It was all a trick. It was all a ruse.
Their eyes were shut, tear-stained cheeks mired in mud. Hooves were splayed behind them, and wings let out a final twink.
I mean, to be fair, callback to the original Apple sleep experiment. Applejack went through the same thing. All those ponies she killed, she didn't want to kill them. She thought she was, like, killing other things. Like, she thought she was killing, like, monsters or something, right? So now Rainbow is doing the same thing. I would say that's revenge.
Before falling lifelessly on either side of the shovel spade.
Soren, no. I mean, hold on. I got something for this. Where is it?
Soren was gone, and it was all Dash's fault.
No.
Dash whimpered, prying the weapon from her teammate's back, and spraying herself.
It's so sad, guys.
She cast the shovel aside, collapsing on the ground and giving into her violent nausea, which ripped through her in wave after wave of
You ruined it
shock
with the
and
vomit.
despair. The sounds of, well, my delighted and unhinged laughter eventually pulled Dash out of her stupor. Maybe I anticipated this being the end of Dash's attempts to subdue me, but I would be wrong. Dash methodically pushed herself back to standing position and slowly reached for the...
Okay, so now, like in Applejack fashion, Applejack is gonna dip.
bloodied shovel that she'd casted.
So, I'm trying to think. Every pony has lost something important to them. Twilight lost Starlight. Pinky lost the cakes. My brain is running on Windows like 95 right now. Give me a moment. Rarity lost Sweetie Belle. Fluttershy lost her animals. And Rainbow Dash lost Soren. All of this happened at their hands. Or at least like perceived to be at their hands. Some more than others, you know. Okay, alright.
Aside, she approached me.
Most of the cakes Pound Cake lived. Yeah, you are correct.
Distracted, laughing villain.
Soren is loosely defined as something important to Dash. Hold on, I got something else for this too. Hold on, let me see. Soren is defined as something loosely important to Dash. Loosely important. Alright, that's enough of that.
Keeping her hooves as silent as possible as they carefully navigated around the debris. Once she was sure of her aim, she lifted that shovel. Dash screamed, thrusting the weapon at me, who only had a few moments to avoid that attack.
Hey, you
stop
that. I'm sorry.
Miss, Dash did catch a hint of shock and fear from me when I realized that Dash was trying to pursue me still.
She's running after her.
Turned on my hooves, racing deeper into the orchard, but this time as prey, not predator.
Let's finish this.
Oh, she's gonna get you.
Snarled, casually picking up the shovel and holding it aloft in her good wing. Each step she followed, she did so in confidence. One way or another, this was going to end before sunrise.
I mean, I guess if this was like, well, I guess it is. If this was like a slasher movie, Dash would be the last one standing, and she's like, I gotta put a shovel in my friend's head because my friend is the killer. What do you mean fade out? What do you mean soft transition? Where are we going? What do you mean? Oh my god. Wait until the end. I saw that down there. All right. Okay, art by Callisto. Okay, what else art we got? Art by Mindless. sketching. I saw too many S's. My brain couldn't. Nomad Flicker. Oh my god. This Applejack, dude. Art by Spencer. I didn't say that right. Urban Qual. The round rares. The droopy dog rarity. I mean, not rarity. Applejack. Jesus Christ. I can't remember anybody's fucking name. No, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. She got her. You clumsy bitch. Get up. It's so rude. Like, she's bleeding out of her head, and I'm just like, you need to get up. Stop being so dramatic. That wait till the end was the release date for the finale. I still want to see all the artists, though. That was by Sunny. Wait, let me see. Sunny is so good now. Oh my god. Love the art that Sunny does. Guilty, 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 guilty. I'm soaring. I'm just chilling on a cloud. Then my asshole girlfriend just had to ruin everything. Drama queen when she's literally dying. Kitties by the millions. Oh my god, they did such a good job on that. Equestria Exploration. Roxy Maiden. This would be a compilation. There should be a compilation of me just saying artist names wrong. Shout out to the amazing art. Of course. That's why I'm here watching this. Oh my god. So good. That fucking face. Marshmallow Virgil. Urban Qual. Lord of the Feathers. I can't move. I'm stuck in a branch. Oh, we got the freaking Mecha Applejack over here. The Dark Souls boss. The Phase 2 Dark Souls boss. And this is the last screenshot we see. Rainbow is like, I'm gonna fucking end you. I'm gonna end you. I'm gonna put you in the goddamn ground. Alright, well. I guess I should tell you my theory, which is just other people's theories before the finale came out. I don't think any of this shit is happening. I have to come out and say it. Some of this shit that's happening is really, really odd and not based in, like, this is gonna sound weird because this is the reality of a cartoon, right? But it doesn't sound like these things are happening in the reality that the show is set up in. And I think there's little things like that sprinkled throughout the whole story. Where it's like, if you really pay attention, is like, even if, like, I know I keep alluding to Applejack drinking potions that make her do anything. I think the potions is a red herring. I don't think any of this is happening. I don't know how it's gotten to this point. I'm real interested in knowing. I think everyone's hallucinating, but if everyone's hallucinating, how the fuck would they get to the point where they all just start collectively hallucinating? And I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, they're all just suffering from guilt. Hold on, Wolf's cooking. Don't tell me if I'm right. Don't tell me if I'm right. I feel like it's in their heads, but don't tell me if I'm right. No spoilers. Let's see. We're about to find this shit out right now. Are we all ready? I'm so hyped to see your reaction to part 4. All right.
Warning. The following reading
God! What quality is this? 140. Okay, let's try this again.
Warning. The following reading contains subject matter that some listeners might find disturbing or difficult to hear. Listener discretion is advised.
She said the thing. Let's go. Is the intro different? I can't even tell. Was that eye always there? Wait a minute. Where's the guitar? This is just a bunch of noise. What the fuck is happening now? Where's Loss's guitar? Give her guitar back. I don't like this. I want to go home. Oh no, that's why I took the quality down, because it's gonna do that shit constantly. All right, I remember. Can we rock at 360p probably? Let's see. But yeah, that is my theory. I don't think any of this is happening, but I want to find out, how did we get to this point? She hasn't learned guitar for me yet. Alright, where are we? Where are we now?
In the stillness of the night,
hey, Lost.
pink light formed amongst the apple trees on the fringe of Sweet Apple Acres. Its glow progressively intensified until it had formed itself into a magical dome, and an alicorn emerged from within.
She's alive! Twilight is alive! That's right, because like a piece of rubble fell on her head and she got out like, she got out alive, right? If that's something that actually happened, because I don't know what's a hallucination and what's not. Let's see.
Once the teleportation was complete, the light extinguished, and the princess found herself alone under the deep cover of darkness. Twilight Sparkle had many things on her mind that night, and none of them pleasant.
I'm pressing that button way too much.
She steadied herself with a slow, deliberate breath.
Angry
if
unicorn
Applejack
noises?
was going to flee anywhere, it would be here, her homestead. Twilight walked a few paces forward before she could see the farmhouse and the accompanying barn in the distance. It had been abandoned for years now, a shadow of its former self. It was difficult to assess details in the murkiness.
I would assume that wait, why is she here? It's hard to theorize, because if I'm right, I don't know what is a hallucination and what's not. I should just watch.
But even without seeing the peeling paint or missing roof shingles, the farm emitted an aura of dread. Once the Apple family was gone, no pony, extended relatives or otherwise, was willing to take up its residence. The thoughts of such horrific...
I'm actually like trying to listen. Because I know I talk a lot and I miss information, but I actually want to listen.
Deaths occurring within the property's limits effectively left the house and orchard behind.
Okay.
Now, they remained only to serve as a ghost story or legend. Twilight wondered why her magic had taken her to the fringe of the orchard, rather than the front door of the farmhouse as she intended. She reasoned it was her frazzled nerves, or a combination of anxiety and grief still coursing through her veins.
What are you doing here, actually?
Starlight Glimmer's final moments were imprinted on the princess's mind, carving themselves into her memories. The pain these thoughts emitted had twisted itself into conviction. After all, an irreversible act of violence was the only logical, noble course of action.
Okay.
It was the only option left, as she had already tried to show mercy all those years ago. In fact, Twilight was no different than her beloved mentor.
The time for mercy is over. We're past mercy. We're past mercy. We're so far past mercy. We're in the end zone right now. We hit a touchdown. We're touchdown dancing.
Princess Celestia, Better, even. Celestia had once banished her sister to the moon, then justified her actions by convincing ponies of Luna's villainy. She'd even allowed ponykind to celebrate the banishment with the annual Summer Sun celebration, and that was nothing compared to the creation of Nightmare Night, further vilifying her sister. Twilight at least had acted with far more care and tact.
Okay.
No pony outside of herself and her friends knew of Applejack's malignity. She was just another victim that would be honored and mourned.
Not for nothing. I think Applejack had kicked the shit out of Celestia, but that's a debate for another time. Let's keep going.
There was no celebration for her defeat, but instead a memorial. Celestia also hadn't had Twilight's foresight. She had to take on Luna's responsibilities herself, while Twilight was able to replace the missing element with...
Oh my god, is this a fucking metaphor? This is what you're doing for me right now?
The very capable Starlight Glimmer. Being a princess meant making difficult decisions. And until this night, Twilight felt certain that she had done what was right for every pony. She was the princess of friendship, and that carried a weight of responsibility.
This is the mural that will be painted throughout the castle when Twilight takes the throne. Just Applejack sad and in prison.
Mercy hadn't worked, so a more permanent solution was needed. Regardless of her own feelings and emotions, this was the right thing to do.
Do you guys hear my cat, like, ranting and raving?
Twilight took another confident step forward. Her ears swiveled back to the sound of something emerging from within the thicket of trees. Her heartbeats quickened, though not from fear.
Is that Rainbow Dash? I almost called Rainbow Applejack for like the 5th time.
On the contrary, Twilight was relieved at the prospect of coming face to face with her target. Killing to defend herself from Applejack's insatiable wrath would provide Twilight with excellent rationalization for any lingering guilt. The alicorn immediately ignited her horn, though the magic hiccuped from her growing stress.
Is not cooking.
Even a half-strength spell would cause damage, though.
Get
so
this
Twilight
purple bird out of my kitchen.
Thought. True, it was careless not to check if the approaching pony was Applejack. But
that
it was
is obviously
clear
Rainbow
from
Dash.
the time of her friend's death that rational thinking was absent from the alicorn that night. Some pony cried out.
You dumb bitch! Applejack has a hat!
The shrill yelp was from shock and not from pain. She must have missed. Twilight summoned her magic again, this time allowing the...
Swear to God, if she shoots Rainbow Dash like clear through her skull, and she's the reason why Rainbow Dash dies, I'm gonna be upset.
Spell to strengthen first. She grunted with effort as the blast whizzed through the trees.
Did she just kill Rainbow Dash?
It landed much harder this time, though it missed its target yet again.
Oh,
the spell collided into a tree, its trunk exploding into splintered wood.
Not this time, AJ!
A voice
this crazy bitch
tinged with anger and desperation cried out. The pony...
She just, like, there's nobody around her. She just takes the shovel and just starts swinging. She's like, where are you, Applejack?
Belonged to Rainbow Dash ejected herself from the tree cover to tackle the alicorn. Twilight, however, was slightly quicker to react. She caught and held Rainbow captive in levitative magic before her blow could land. The pair froze and locked gazes with wide, shocked eyes.
Rainbow? Twilight? What are you doing here?
Thanks, Celestia.
Suffering.
I thought you were...
Rainbow trailed off in relief. The Pegasus's desire for vengeance wasn't quite as strong as her friend's, as thoughts of consequences tempered her objective. She exhaled her frenzied panic before gesturing to the magic that detained her above ground. Twilight blinked a couple of times to recover from the initial shock, then set the Pegasus down gently. Both Twilight and Rainbow held the silence
well, this is some
to
art.
analyze one another. The pair immediately noticed that each of them appeared disheveled and haggard, a stark contrast to the beginning of this horrendous night. Twilight was marred with scrapes, bruises, and acid-burned hooves. Starlight's blood was still encrusted onto her fur.
Yeah,
making
we've
it
both had
difficult
some
to tell
terrible,
a wound
terrible
from a
nights.
stain. Her mane and tail were a frizzy, tangled mess, and her eyes were wild with shock. Rainbow Dash, on the other hoof, looked notably more
Rainbow, Twilight, AJ, SpongeBob.
distressed than the princess. Her fur was tinted with faint smudged crimson, as if she had attempted to wipe away the blood that lingered there. Her eyes were far more bloodshot and sunken than Twilight's, and even in the pale light, Twilight could see a tremor in her hooves. Most notable of all, however, was the limp wings swaying unnaturally at her
Donkey!
side. They silently came to the same conclusion, that neither pony looked entirely prepared or even capable of the act that they had come to commit.
It doesn't matter. You have to do what you're gonna do if this isn't another hallucination, if I'm right, which I don't know if I'm right yet.
What happened? Are you all right?
I'm here. So, let's just skip the details.
I guess I don't have to ask why you're here.
Yeah. We both know where this ends.
Twilight and Rainbow Dash peered into the distance and lingered on the site of the farmhouse.
You don't have to go. You don't have to do this. There's no point in both of us dirtying our hooves.
Twilight
Yeah,
offered,
but two ponies
hoping her
versus
friend would
one
grant
pony
her
is
this
good.
small mercy. Rainbow Dash swallowed hard. She didn't correct the princess by volunteering the information that her hooves were already dirty. Although it was a trick orchestrated by Applejack, she still carried the guilt as if she had murdered Soren of her own volition. Rainbow chose to change the subject instead.
We should have finished this. She should have never left those trees alive. Ponies died because we were too weak to bring ourselves to do what was right.
Are you implying that are you implying that you should have killed Applejack a long time ago? Because I have a counterpoint. What if she just never got the thing that made her go crazy in the first place? You know?
I'm not going to fail again.
Oh yeah, you're allergic to failure. You hate losing and failing and just all that shit.
Word struck Twilight like a series of sharp blades. She conceded. There were no small mercies this night.
I should have killed this bitch when I had the chance.
Endings promised with the dawn. In lieu of a response, Twilight merely started walking towards the farmhouse, and the Pegasus followed suit. Soon, the pair left the relative safety of tree cover to walk the bare open field. The eerie similarities of pursuing Applejack now versus 7 years ago were uncanny. The air was as thick and hot, the trees as shriveled and unkept, and the dread as daunting and all-consuming. The silence between the mares exploded into a symphony of metal springs and frightened screams.
Of fucking course. Of course this happens. Of course this... Of course Applejack would set up a fucking bear trap. Of course she would set up a bear trap. Why the fuck didn't anyone look on the ground? How do you walk into a bear trap? Look where you're going. Common Rainbow L.
Sharp, jagged teeth embedded themselves into Rainbow Dash's left forelimb with the strength that greatly outweighed her own. She'd fallen victim to a bear trap, a contraption she'd only ever heard existed and never seen
dumb
in use.
bitch. I've said
Twilight
that to you like
gasped in
5
surprise,
times.
whirling around to see the aftermath of blood oozing from a new wound, and the metal monstrosity holding her friend in place. Twilight immediately sprang into action, fortunate that she had read of these traps and knew, to some extent, how to release a victim from its clutches. Still, she would need to stop a pain-racked Rainbow from thrashing first.
You stand still!
Twilight pleaded, her voice a frantic whisper, knowing that they were exposed and Applejack could be waiting nearby. She raced to the Pegasus' side and attempted to ignite her horn, but magic didn't respond. Anxiety finally willed out over.
Listen. We all suffer from performance anxiety sometimes. Under high levels of stress, you just can't perform. Sometimes it just doesn't go. This is a very thinly veiled erectile dysfunction joke I'm trying to make. Is it good?
Her magic? Rainbow's hoof remained unassisted as she fought through grunts and whimpers to free it. Amidst the searing pain, Dash mentally kicked herself for losing her weaponized shovel. It would have been the perfect tool to wedge the metal jaws apart, if only it had not been lost somewhere in the depths of the orchard. After hours of fruitless searching, the shovel had to be abandoned. Dash grasped one side of the trap with her free hoof, straining to release its jaws. By the fourth attempt to ignite her magic,
she's gonna rip her own damn hoof off, dude.
Twilight gave up and chose instead to grasp the trap with her bare hooves to help Rainbow.
On 3.
If only we still had the shovel. That was a good point.
1, 2, 3.
You're gonna rip her hoof off.
The pair exerted themselves beyond their limits until the metal finally gave way. Rainbow wrenched her hoof free. She laid on the ground, clutching her left hoof to her chest, cradling it with her right one. Blood flowed freely from the puncture wounds the trap had left, and the trickles that spilled onto the grass mixed with the stinging tears of pain in her eyes. Twilight and Dash
This bitch.
immediately and fearfully silenced themselves. They whipped their heads around, looking for the source they knew to be AJ.
That looks mighty painful.
Applejack, show yourself!
Twilight
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve. I'm trying to think, like, if it's not the potions that give Applejack the power to literally be in the minds of Applejack, of Rainbow Dash and Twilight, then what the hell is doing this?
shouted,
How can she do this?
more conviction in her voice than even she thought herself capable.
I could, but it won't do you a lick of good. Think that's the only trap waiting in the space between you and me?
Twilight takes another step, and then a fucking guillotine just swings down from the left of the screen and cuts her in half.
Couldn't see the taunting villain, but the voice carried from the direction of the barn. A large strip.
Wait, a guillotine. Not a guillotine, a pendulum. That's what I meant to say. The guillotine is the thing that cuts your head off.
Stretch of land spanned between the anxious duo and Applejack, now correctly identified as a battlefield of unknown dangers. Twilight's mind filled with horrifying ideas of what could actually be lurking for them there.
Okay.
She was no fool. She flared out her wings, intent on carrying Dash over the grassy minefield.
Who is that?
Strangely, Applejack didn't protest.
That's Dash?
Twilight
Oh,
darted
okay.
into the air, but felt a small
Wow, Dash, you look
resistance
awful.
to her flight. An impossibly thin wire had been tripped by the princess, setting off an unseen catapult poised in a farmhouse window.
What?
A round glass potion bottle was flung at the alicorn and shattered on impact, soaking the princess's fur with its contents.
This really is some Home Alone ass shit right now. It's like the farm is booby trapped and a catapult threw a wine glass at Twilight. Oh my god.
With her breath caught in her throat and unable to make a sound, both mares plummeted back to the uneven ground beneath them. Rainbow was thrown out of hoof and grunted as she involuntarily rolled a distance away.
I told you, Home
Twilight
Alone. You
finally
did tell
found
me
her
that. That
breath
is true.
as pieces fell into place in her mind. She was all too familiar with this overwhelming, crushing feeling. Hypergravity, she called it. Knowing its effects and experiencing them were two entirely different comprehensions.
So Applejack actually threw a potion at Twilight, and now she can't fly. How does she have that?
The slightest movement.
Unless, in the first episode, she took more potions than we thought, and she didn't have any pockets. She probably just shoved like 3 potions up her own ass and was like, oh, I'll need these for later.
It took 3 times as much muscle and concentration. And from the already exhausted alicorn, this movement translated into agony. Flight was now impossible for Twilight Sparkle, as her wings would be too weak to carry her weight into the air. She glanced out at the minefield before her with a heightened sense of dread.
I take it you don't fancy the Earth Pony life, huh, Twilight?
Such a bully. Such a bully.
Twilight groaned from her newfound strain, but forced herself back onto her hooves slowly. She ignored Applejack's jab, hell-bent on completing her mission. She took a step forward.
Twilight, no!
Rainbow called out, seeing a trap poised for the princess to trigger. The ground looked uneven with freshly disturbed soil around a small mound. Twilight turned to look at Rainbow, but her movement progressed anyway. A sickly sensation of falling forward overtook the alicorn as the ground beneath the hoof gave way. The sensation was quick to disperse, however, as her hoof only fell a foot into the ground, and her other hooves could still maintain her balance. She thought, perhaps, she had corrected her mistake soon enough to keep this trap from ensnaring her completely, but a horrendous shock was in store for her. Twilight's instinct was to pull her hoof free immediately, so she summoned the strength to attempt to do so in one pull. The problem was, Twilight failed to recognize the feeling of sharpened wooden stakes that laced this shallow trap. They were ingeniously angled downward so that they would embed themselves into their victim only after an upward motion.
Okay, remember when I said Applejack was Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, Hellraiser? I forgot to add Predator. She's also fucking Predator.
Twilight shrieked, wooden splinters implanting themselves into acid-burnt skin, tearing open her flesh and cementing her to the spot. The shock and pain muted Twilight's better senses, and she was unsure how to liberate her hoof without her magic or sheer brute force. Her anxiety and fatigue had all but sapped her problem-solving capabilities. Rainbow Dash knew this meant Twilight was effectively out of the pursuit, at least for now. Since being thrown, she lingered close to the ground.
The art, dude! Why is the art so good? The artist didn't have to go this hard, man.
To better spot the other booby traps in her path. She was almost certain she could avoid them to get to Applejack. Rainbow stood up and carefully tiptoed around the fresh soil mounds as Twilight watched in anticipation and horror.
Well, would you look at that? Dash has a brain after all.
I know, I was shocked too.
Who'd have thunk it?
Shut up, you stupid bitch!
Rainbow snarled, crouching close to the ground. Her eyes lingered, trying to spot any more trip wires. Meanwhile, it finally dawned on Twilight that she could dig herself out of her predicament
even better.
with her free hoof. A frantic shake.
Applejack is essentially John Kramer, just making like a lot of traps.
Hoof dug
puts Twilight in a device and is like, "You want to play a game?"
Into the soil around her.
Like, motherfucker, I don't want to play a game right now.
Twilight was determined to free herself and assist her friend before Applejack's traps could claim any more victories.
Let's see how smart your mouth is when I bucket clean off your fucking face!
No, she's
Dash
mad.
called out, now more than halfway across the field. She peered up towards the barn to check her progress.
Look at this
and
smug
froze when
bitch
she
in the
caught
corner.
sight of AJ's silhouette leaning against the open barn door. A shovel with an uncanny resemblance to the one she had misplaced was resting nearby. It peeked out of the barn, the only thing visible in the moonlight.
Now you see, I recall that being the other way around last time. How's that jaw, Dash? Still giving you issues?
Applejack asked as she pulled the shovel out of sight and presumably in huff. Her muscular body was dimly lit in the barn door frame. Rainbow felt as if AJ was towering above her again as that dreaded timber monster.
There's a trap. 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 Rainbow Dash is gonna fall for the trap. Rainbow Dash sees Applejack in the barn door. Rainbow Dash is gonna go after Applejack, but somewhere between that path is another trap. I'm calling it.
And the panic bubbled to the surface. Dash swallowed that down.
That's all you can come up with. I've heard better comebacks from Fluttershy!
Dash screamed defiantly. Twilight finally pulled her ruined hoof
God
free
damn it.
and immediately shot her glance towards Rainbow. She was horrified to find Applejack exposed at last, her emaciated body pacing back and forth along the side of the farmhouse like a wolf eagerly anticipating its prey. Dash, on the other hoof, seemed unaware of her awaiting doom as she carefully continued onwards. Somehow, even in this mental haze, Twilight got another idea. She raced back towards the trees and bucked her hind legs into them to shake its fruit loose. She gathered what she could of the fallen apples and started to throw them on the ground, one at a time. If an apple landed without incident, she would crush it under hoof. If an apple triggered a trap, she would avoid it. She would follow Dash.
Okay, Egghead. Okay, Egghead, I see you.
Dash's lead on remaining close.
Chat, hold on. Twi's cooking.
To the ground, as the tripwires above would be too invisible and unpredictable to set off on purpose. Slowly, the pair of mares made their way towards their target. Twilight and Dash both anticipated Applejack fleeing when they got too close, as she had done in their previous encounters. However, it seemed the ex-farmer was going to stand her ground on what was once her land. Rainbow Dash broke through the booby trap latent land first, and immediately lunged at the mare. Applejack was ready for it, taking a wild swing with her shovel.
I have to do this bit, even though Mag is gonna get mad.
I think we could do it if we tried. If only to say you're mine.
All right, that's enough of that.
Dash's heart pumped with adrenaline as she eyed the sharp weapon in her enemy's grasp.
Why are your eyes so bloodshot? Just neon red.
She avoided the blow, but didn't back down. Rainbow was determined to wrestle that shovel away from her target. Soren would be avenged, and she was set on repeating the same deadly move on AJ.
Help!
In his memory. She lurched at the earth pony again, resuming a hopeless dance of trying and failing to land a blow or ensnare the shovel.
Okay, this is a trap. There's also a trap. Rainbow Dash is gonna exert all her energy or what she has left of it, and Applejack is like good at physical fighting, so all she needs to do is just like dodge. She needs to keep dodging until Rainbow gets tired, and then when Rainbow gets tired, it's over. It's over.
Distance away.
I am so disappointed, Wolf.
Twilight heard Rainbow struggling with Applejack, but had her eyes.
Listen, Mag, this isn't This isn't a pony fighting for her life. This is a goddamn domestic dispute. All right, I'm sorry.
Locked firmly on the ground so she could keep advancing. To her dismay, however, the apples she had gathered had all been utilized, and there was still a stretch of land to go. Twilight grimly accepted that she would have to keep to Rainbow's method for the rest of her journey. Dash was frantic, making asinine mistakes that a calm and clear-headed pony might not. This gave Applejack
Dash
the
can be
advantage,
calm and clear-headed and
she
still
happily
make
struck
asinine
Rainbow with
mistakes.
the shovel at every given opportunity. Dash pushed through the pain of each that the Pegasus was losing, but Dash wouldn't quit. Eventually,
She doesn't give up easily.
Applejack started using other objects to assault her former friend. Bales of hay, gardening tools, and even the barn door beat down Dash. Finally, Twilight emerged victorious and blindly charged at the mare when she saw the disoriented Dash clutching her head from the most recent blow. She heard...
God, Lost had to be... That was just like a bunch of grunting and yelling. Lost be throwing out her voice for real.
Dash scream out in anger as Applejack rammed directly into the alicorn, head-butting her back into the field of awaiting fatalities. Almost immediately, the alicorn triggered a trap. This time, it was a pit, far larger and more deadly than the first.
There was
the
a
ground
pit?
gave way, the flimsy seal of loose grass and fallen leaves collapsing into the pit along with most of the alicorn.
Okay, what's in the
Twilight's
pit?
front hooves dug into the dirt along the pit's edge as she slowly slid backwards towards her doom. All Twilight could do was hold on, her heavy back hooves dangling over the waiting spikes at the bottom.
Rainbow! Rainbow!
Twilight screamed,
There's
terrified
spikes
for her
in the
life.
There's spikes in the pit!
Though it wouldn't have been the first time this night. She heard, but couldn't see. More
Oh yeah, there's
struggle
spikes in the
between
pit.
Dash and AJ. Twilight's hooves started to slip backwards again, her forelegs shaking uncontrollably. She had almost given up hope on a rescue when she heard the sound.
So let's recap. Little breather. As of this moment in the story, Twilight is falling into a pit. Applejack is fighting like she has had way too much to drink. She's going to lose this fight if she doesn't realize that she needs to, like, approach this in a different way. I think we're cooked. I think Applejack wins. I don't know what else to tell you. I think we're fucking cooked, bro. I think we're cooked.
Sound of Dash's final outcry.
We're like 25 minutes into an hour and 20 minute long chapter, and I know that's very early to call it. I think we're cooked. This is a grimdark. There are no happy endings here.
It initially sounded victorious, and a small hope started to grow in Twilight's chest. That hope quickly extinguished, however.
Are you
when
out of breath
the
now?
outcry was followed by the sound of a body falling to the ground, and then the horrific silence. Two friends, two faithful, loyal friends, had now perished by this pony's hooves. Two friends too many. Twilight couldn't and wouldn't give up. Now, she was Pony Kind's last hope. A scream of effort that swelled in her chest roared from her lips as she laboriously pried herself from the edge of the pit. The alicorn slumped on the ground, her heart pounding in her ears as she fought to regain composure and strength. She heard slow, careful hoofsteps approaching, and knew this was her chance. If she could make Applejack believe that she was too tired to carry on, she would have the element of surprise on her side.
That's the plan now. I gotta make this bitch believe that I'm like near death. And then when she turns her back, I'll get her.
Instead, the hoofsteps stopped a distance away. and Twilight heard a curious sound that she wasn't expecting. Applejack was blowing into some kind of small tube, and the sound was followed by a small whistle of wind and a sharp pain in Twilight's neck. She blinked, helplessly.
She knocked her out? She drugged her?
Watching the details of the world around her slowly blur into
I'ma need you for later.
faint shapes.
The hell, Applejack?
She couldn't be sure, but in her last breaths of consciousness, she thought there was something off about AJ. She didn't look right, even in dissolved abnormality.
I'm still banking on the idea that this is all somehow a hallucination. Just from lines like that, I'm banking on the very real possibility that everyone's just having some sort of weird traumatic nightmare.
Twilight fucking sparkle. Replace me, do ya? Tell me what happened to my sister!
Twilight regained consciousness to the faint sound of a magical heart monitor. She listened to the rhythmic beeping and could feel her pulse thrumming in her head. Strangely, the sounds of the monitor did not match the thumping heartbeats in her chest. Her sight had not yet been restored, but she could ascertain that her limbs were not laying naturally. In addition, her head felt heavier than her hooves, and her chest heaved with each breath. Unimaginable pain came in waves with her strained breathing, as if her need for oxygen was never quite satiated, and the rest of her body suffered for it. The agony was so expansive that Twilight couldn't help but moan and whimper as the world slowly came back into focus.
Oh, you're awake?
A voice asked,
The hell
though
is
its
that?
tone was devoid of concern and resembled more indifference. More senses slowly eased into reality as Twilight shifted her weight against the cold, unforgiving hardwood floor. She couldn't yet muster the strength to move her limbs, so she focused on regaining her sight instead. She blinked a few times and squinted, trying to find the source of the strange voice. Shapes and colors formed into recognizable objects, aided by the daylight that was pouring in from a window. The room was familiar and foreign all at once. Under the thin layer of dust, Twilight spotted a Stetson hat that was neatly hanging on a hook on the wall. Nearby was a lasso and a bookcase used to store many trophies and ribbons. Other notable pieces of furniture in the room included a small bedside table near the door, an old green armchair in the center of the room, and a modest little bed. Twilight had an inkling in the back of her mind that the bed in this room was somehow out of place. Perhaps it was because she could see the old grooves in the hard wood where the bedposts had once stood, or maybe because she was acutely aware of whose room this used to be, and it looked different in her dim memories. Regardless, the bed now resided against the wall adjacent to the door. Twilight assumed this was due to the various pieces of magical medical equipment that surrounded it. Even from the floor, Twilight could tell that some pony occupied that bed. The magical
Who is that?
monitor she heard was attached to this pony, not her. Half a dozen hanging fluid bags, with tubes, were connected to the pony hidden under the sheets. The
It's not Applejack.
contents of those bags remained a mystery.
It's not Rainbow Dash either.
The pony themselves
That's Applejack?
looked frail and sickly. They were lying on their back, eyes closed with the mask secured over their snout for oxygen flow.
Who the
A
fuck
thick
is
red
that?
blanket and apple-patterned bed sheets had been carefully and lovingly wrapped around them. This pony fit so snugly in their place. It seemed that they had remained this way for some time. Once Twilight's sight had fully returned, she could also identify brittled blonde hair and a cream-colored coat. No.
Cream-colored coat. Applejack's coat is orange.
Not cream. It was orange.
Fuck.
But it was so pale, she had mistaken it for something lighter.
I was right?
There was only one pony this could have been. Applejack. A yellow-coated,
what the fuck?
Where
Where did you come from?
Bedroom doorway, holding a new bag of liquid that would replace.
She's gotten older, so she didn't die. And she's fucked up, actually?
The empty one in the
Hold
medical
on.
equipment nearby.
Wait a minute.
The sound of gentle hoofsteps and squeaking wheels caused Twilight to snap her head to the left side of the room. The pony's mane, once held back by a bright pink bow, was now limp and hanging loose down her back.
You gotta zoom out
this
picture.
She had bags under her eyes and an indifferent frown on her lips. She seemed to ignore Twilight as she both walked and trundled towards Applejack. The pony was attached.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Attached to a unique device. It had been built for this particular mare by Twilight years ago. It consisted of a pair of wheels and a strong strap for the pony's waist, connected to one another by two interlocking metal bars. The pony's back legs dangled freely above the ground, as those wheels acted in lieu of hindquarters.
My theory was right. Some of it was right and some of it was wrong. Remember when I said that, like, Apple Bloom hit the tree so hard that she would become like a paraplegic? I don't think she's a paraplegic, but her like from the waist down, nothing works. Nothing works. Oh my god. And Applejack has been here quite some time. How long are we talking? Okay. We're not even halfway through this chapter. I gotta keep listening. If this is the twist, this is a really good twist. I thought this bitch was dead. No, her legs just don't work. She's just crippled now.
Twilight instantly recognized the pony. After all, she was her faithful assistant for over half a decade.
Let's go. Parallels.
Get away from her! She's dangerous!
Twilight said.
Oh, she's not dangerous.
Her voice cracking with panic.
She was never dangerous, was she? She's been here the whole time, hasn't she?
Apple Bloom chuckled once mockingly under her breath. She continued to ignore the princess as she carefully swapped the medical bags. Twilight wasn't sure what was going on, but she didn't like her growing feeling of trepidation.
You dumb bitch. What do you mean you don't know what's going on?
She finally attempted to move her hooves, but fell them down together.
Can't leave!
With thick, scratchy rope. Twilight tried her wings next.
I'm gonna just get out of bed. Ah, fuck!
Tightly around her midsection, rendering them useless. Igniting her horn was her third attempt for freedom, but try as she might, no magic responded. Out of options, Twilight began thrashing to liberate herself.
What is this? What's going on? Let me out, Apple Bloom!
Twilight pleaded. Her dry mouth and desperation caused the words in her throat to be painful when spoken.
Here comes the explanation.
Which question do you want me to answer first? What is this? It's rope, dumbass.
Oh, I love her!
What's going on? I imagine you're trying to get your magic to work, but it ain't, is it? Remember that potion lesson you taught me about the ingredient called the powerless poppy? You know, the one they used to deceive.
Here comes the explanation. I've been waiting for this shit the whole show.
People unicorn magic temporarily? You might find a fair few of them flowers planted around the place these days, or even their powders scattered here and there. I'm surprised you don't taste the excess around your mouth.
Apple Bloom answered, Her tone still reflected little, if any, emotion. Twilight's eyes widened as she tentatively reached her tongue out to check her lips. She did indeed feel some kind of powdery residue lingering there. Her mind was racing, grasping for any kind of logical explanation. When she settled on the only one that made sense, she frantically pleaded with Apple Bloom again.
Apple Bloom, I know you want to believe that Applejack is still in there, somewhere, but clearly she's dangerous. She'll kill us all.
She does
you
not.
have to let me out of here so I can get you to safety.
She doesn't
Apple
get it.
Bloom paused midway through discarding an empty liquid bag. She looked at Twilight with a bemused and bewildered expression.
Also,
almost as if she was seeing the alicorn's stupidity for the first time. Suddenly,
the artist for this part is Cloud9. Cloud9 has a very distinct way of doing art. I gotta react to some of Cloud9 stuff. Scribbler gave me a whole list of stuff that Cloud9 has done. I just haven't gotten around to reacting to any of it yet. But I have like handpicked a few things that I should react to in the future.
She burst into laughter. The idea was just so absurd, she couldn't help herself.
You think Applejack did that to you?
I fucking knew it! Let's go! Hallucination for the win! Holy shit!
This mirror, right here, did all that.
Applejack never left. She's been here. She's been here the whole time, bro. The whole time. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it?
Apple Bloom asked confoundedly as she gestured to the sickly mare in the bed. Twilight couldn't answer that question, still searching the recesses of her mind.
Now let's get
for
the explanation. How did all this go down?
Nevertheless, no explanation presented itself.
I'd ask if the cure makes a mare an idiot, but AJ didn't exhibit any signs.
What?
Twilight whispered, frightened confusion stamped on her face. Apple Bloom sighed loudly, exaggerating the noise to exemplify her impatience.
I thought it'd be fun to mess with your head for a bit, but it's actually just kind of annoying. Why don't I cut to the chase?
She offered, taking the green
I love this
armchair
so
from
much.
AJ's bedside and pulling it slowly towards Twilight. The scrape of the chair grating against the wooden floor sent a twinge of pain through Twilight's head, worsening the migraine she had already been suffering. She flattened her ears.
Let me tell
as
you
the
a story.
Earth Pony teen pulled the chair into place. Eventually, it came to rest in front of and facing Twilight. Apple Bloom then calmly unlatched the device's belt from around her waist and hoisted herself into the chair, resting the contraption nearby. Apple Bloom looked like a parent ready to tell their foals a bedtime story.
You know what she looks like?
Want me to start at the beginning or?
She's sitting in Granny Smith's chair. At this point, you gotta kill all the Apple family. And there's a lot of them. If shit like this happens, if this gets out, you gotta kill her whole family. If you survive, you cannot let any of them live.
Or just answer your stupid questions.
To say that Twilight was
She looks like Granny Smith.
perplexed would be an understatement. She couldn't yet mentally grasp the situation, and the questions in the forefront of her mind grew too numerous to sort through. After a few beats of silence, Apple Bloom interjected.
Okay then, I'll just start at the beginning.
Apple
Yes,
Bloom
tell
leaned
me a
back
story,
in her
Apple Bloom.
chair and smiled smugly, like an old pony fondly reminiscing about a happy memory.
I guess I'd say this tale starts a few years back. Granny had just passed from the grief of everything and the strain of taking
Okay.
care of me and Mac.
Okay.
Mac was a damn fool for getting that heat stroke, and an even bigger one for waiting so long to get it taken care of. His mind and his kidneys were never the same. Of course, it didn't help that I was laid up the way I was, unable to get out of bed. You can't imagine what it was like for an old pony to have to take care of the grandchildren who should have been taking care of her. I don't have to tell you what happened when she passed.
Mac moved to Starlight's old village because he found some unicorn mare willing enough to take care of him. Didn't know then why you insisted on taking me in, though. I know now it was from the guilt of everything you had caused. I can still remember waiting for weeks for a letter from Mac asking me to come live with him and his new mare friend. I had this contraption thingy now, so I wouldn't be an invalid anymore. Why wouldn't he want me back? We were all each other had. Never happened, though. He'd lost AJ, then Granny, and Celestia helping me tried with me, but every pony has their limits. I never got confirmation, but I know it was you that convinced him to let me stay with you instead. He probably thought he was doing what was best for me. Still hurt, though.
Apple Bloom briefly hesitated, bitterly clenching her teeth.
Instead, while I was waiting on that letter that would never come, I intercepted a delivery at the castle. You remember? All them letters and packages from Pinkie Pie being sent back? Couldn't figure why they'd come to us, nor who the hell would reject Pinkie like that. I'll admit, I was curious. There was a note on top. Said it was from the head prison guard in Canterlot, sending you all the mail for the prisoner like you requested. Odd, I thought. What prisoner would Pinkie Pie be sending cookies to? I brushed it off and forgot all about it, till a couple of years ago. You see, one day I was working on my potions when I heard you talking to Starlight. Y'all must not have known I was close by. She was getting real smart with you about you going to Canterlot to maybe visit her again. Couldn't imagine who she was talking about at first, but then them letters came to mind. They'd said Canterlot prison. Got me wondering, you know? So, I brewed a mighty good sleep aid, drugged you, Starlight, and Spike, and went on a little excursion to Canterlot.
Apple Bloom!
Twilight whispered, horrified.
The fucking mastermind. First of all, we're not going to talk about the fact that the princess got outplayed by basically a little ass filly. You got so outplayed, and you want to be the princess? Nah. That's not gonna happen. That can't happen now. That can't happen.
She couldn't believe the pony she had taken in and raised as her own sister would do something so callous.
I didn't know she took her in, though. I didn't know that. I guess Mag kind of did that on purpose. That's not like a plot point that she would want to focus on, just to make this twist seem like a lot bigger or something.
Oh, it weren't no more than a couple hours is all. I wouldn't have had to have done it if y'all didn't hover around me so goddamn much. Y'all were a worse worrywart than Applejack was.
Twilight grimly recalled the paranoia of letting Apple Bloom out of the castle in her contraption. She was worried about what might happen if she fell, or if something jammed the wheel and Apple Bloom would get stuck.
So then just
Perhaps
unjam the
Twilight
wheel.
could have been a little more lenient on her restrictions and concerns, but still.
I'll cut a long story short and just say that I found your dirty, fucked up secret. That first time, I couldn't do more than just catch a glimpse. I was unprepared, you know. So I came back here and, well, I cried for days trying to make sense of it all.
Twilight remembered that too, and could never get the truth out of Apple Bloom about what was wrong.
Spike's the one I eventually told the truth to. He didn't believe me.
Well, of course he's not. He's
Guess
not gonna
he'd let
believe
me out of the castle if I had a little dragon chaperone, huh?
Spike!
Twilight whispered, extremely hurt. She hadn't heard that name in over a year, and
So
still didn't understand why he suddenly wanted to spend time in the Dragonlands.
Oh, he just dipped. He was just like, Twilight's fucked up. I gotta get out of here.
She had previously chalked it up to teenage rebellion, or perhaps that cliche year to travel and find yourself.
No.
Yep. He was pretty hurt. He helped me snoop through your things when you weren't looking, and we found all them notes you took about the sleepless potion. We found out that Applejack was the murderer because of your magic.
Oh, shit.
Emphasized. She didn't wait for Twilight to come up with excuses. She just continued.
He was so disgusted, he left. I don't blame him. I almost did too.
Twilight was enveloped in memories of anguish. Spike, the dragon she had nursed from birth and raised like a brother or even a son.
It's so Jover. It's so Jover, man. Like how? Like the whole reason Twilight did this was she wanted to preserve her place as princess. There is no fucking way that's gonna happen now. No way. You've made your future, if you even have a future, so much worse because of what you've done. It's so fucking crazy.
Could he truly hate her? In Twilight's rationale, the decision to keep him in the dark about guilt that she and her friends had to bear, finding out through Apple Bloom would turn Twilight's selfless action into a selfish one. Twilight devolved into soft, heartbroken sobs. Spike hadn't even given her the chance to explain herself. How
There's
could
no explanation.
Some creature she loved and cared for so deeply spurn a chance to make things right again between them? How could he have just left? Previous to this moment, there was no reality in Twilight's mind that could compel Spike to abandon her as he did. The mental anguish greatly outweighed her physical pain.
Eventually, I honed my skills making them potions so I could drug the guards and go visit my sister. She told me that you implied that I died that night.
I mean, that's what I also believed, but now look at you. You're telling me you broke this bitch out of prison?
Not just broke my spine. If I didn't hate you before, I certainly did then. We came up with a plan to get her out of there. Well, I did. AJ didn't really think it right at first. She said I needed to move on.
Aww.
Well, moving on can mean getting out and running away, right?
Apple Bloom glanced over her shoulder at the motionless Applejack with underlying bitterness.
But it was one thing to drug the guards. It's a whole other thing to have a prisoner just go missing. We knew we'd need to account for you getting notified, and potentially all of Equestria out looking for her.
Okay.
Still, we eventually got everything all figured out.
How?
Every single detail. We were gonna make our way to Appaloosa so Brayburn could get us a cart to get out of Equestria altogether. You've been preaching friendship so much, there weren't many places left that didn't know about the Princess of Friendship and
The
her
corruption,
friends.
dude. The
They would've
corruption.
found somewhere though. Everything was fine until that damned guard showed up late to work that night.
Apple Bloom paused, her voice cracking as she recounted their plans derailing. She could still hear the unicorn stallion shouting at them and chasing them down the hall.
Applejack got hurt. She got hurt saving me.
She spoke softly, offering no other.
Even in this state, she was still trying to save you? Oh my god, Applejack really is just... Applejack really is in a misfortunate situation in this whole story.
Their explanation as she wiped a rogue tear from her cheeks.
It hit her head real hard, and she never woke up.
Aww.
Apple Bloom thought she couldn't feel a worse pain than that night 7 years ago. Until now. It was more than just opening an old wound. It was exacerbating it. It festered under the surface as she gripped the armchair, trying to suppress her tears.
I had to change plans last minute, so I just brought her here.
I was gonna nurse her back to health, but the longer I waited, the more the plan just fell apart.
All I wanted was just to escape and hide with my sister. But, you know, sometimes you can't have what you want. It's just how life goes.
Don't
It
tell me
felt
that.
like a millennia since those words were told to a young Apple Bloom by a potion-suffering Applejack. It was the morning after the Zap Apple harvest, the The first time she noticed something was amiss with her sister, Applebloom would never forget the wild look in Applejack's eye as she feverishly stirred the pots of Zap Apple jam while simultaneously filling jars in the overcrowded kitchen. That naive little filly couldn't understand the gravity of the situation at the time, nor how true those words would come to be.
You did all of this 3 days ago?
Twilight asked, gobsmacked. Applebloom's disposition.
Yes! Who drew her like that? Yes, it was me! It's always been me, Twilight! It has always been me!
Changed again, trading her sniffles for a smile that eventually turned into a dry chuckle.
3 days? Try 3 weeks.
Twilight blinked. How was that possible? Gone missing 2 days prior. Had Applebloom somehow altered the guard's perception of time? Had she somehow delayed the letter?
I see that stupid look on your face, so let me help your itty-bitty brain riddle it out. You see, from what I gathered, the sleepless potion makes time all fucky for its victims.
Twilight's stomach dropped.
The sleepless potion? How? How could you? When?
Well, you were one hell of a potions teacher, and it was easy enough just to follow your notes. Oh, by the way, a magic lock don't work well against acid. Just thought you should know.
Twilight paused her frenzied train of thought.
Of course it
when
was
she
fucking
heard
acid.
That Applebloom was the reason the lock was broken.
Thing is, I was a mite smarter than y'all were about it. See, I actually studied and perfected the potion before I used it. I knew when to do it, too. Celestia and Luna were off on that friendship summit thing that you came up with so that we could make friends with every creature else on this damn planet. You know what I think? I think you came up with that because you don't want them coming to commemoration. Because it's just another reminder that you failed as a friend in front of your precious teacher. You know,
She's 10 steps ahead. She's 10 steps ahead.
I think they're still gone. I guess those llamas don't want to play nice after all.
Twilight didn't look Applebloom in the eye when she riddled out the princess's absence. It was as if Applebloom could see past Twilight's eyes and right into her core, where her insecurities and failures overrode logic and common sense. How much heartache could have been prevented if she hadn't been too ashamed to face Celestia and Luna. Applebloom didn't seem to notice or care that Twilight was shying away from her. She just continued.
It's perfect for me, though. I figured out that when the old recipe is turned into a gaseous form, the side effects don't show up right away. I released it in the castle. You know, when you and your friends were planning that stupid memorial.
My friends?
Twilight screamed, snapping out of her shame in a blink of an eye. The thought that Applebloom's twisted scheme could extend beyond her hadn't crossed the princess's mind, and now the entirely new and horrific reality was unfolding before her.
Oh yeah, Pinky's the one who sent the letters, so it weren't hard to deduce that they all knew. Why'd you think Spike was so hurt? You trusted all of them, and not him. So, every single one of them was just fine and dandy, knowing that my sister was rotting away in a cell for crimes she weren't responsible for? Pretty damn fitting if y'all experienced what you put my sister away for, so you could see for yourselves what happens to you.
So
I
fucking
expected
diabolical.
A shit show, and none of y'all disappointed.
No, it couldn't be true. It just couldn't be possible. Twilight had slept. She was sure of it. She had to have slept, right?
No.
The reality was slow to settle, but it trickled in bit by bit.
Nope.
And things started to make sense. Twilight remembered feeling ill, though not violently. It must have been due to the dilution of the gaseous state that kept her from being too sick all at once. At the time, she had also rationalized that her lingering fatigue had come from the anxiety of planning the memorial. Nausea, fatigue, irritability, manic episodes. Not a single one of them would have believed their unusual behavior was anything except the manifestation of stress.
Since we're going in order, let's start with Dash.
Apple Bloom said, folding her hooves and getting comfortable.
Weren't a mystery why her manic state would manifest as Wonderbolt nonsense. She probably thought she was some goddamn prodigy record breaker or something. Because of all of that exertion, she's the only one who had shit happen the night before commemoration.
Twilight perked up at that statement. Hadn't Starlight died that night? She was sure of it. She'd been working on her speech.
Can you stop making dumb faces and let me finish? I'll get to you. I promise. Oh, where was I? Oh, Dash, right. It's mighty convenient that when you're cured, you get your memories back eventually. She said she raced Soren, they crashed, and she fought Applejack in the orchard. Of course, she didn't know at the time that it wasn't even an apple orchard, but a cherry one. And the only other pony down there was Soren. He tried calming her down, and she killed him.
Wait, Rainbow is alive?
You know, it was still early on in her exposure, so she was somewhat coherent that things weren't as they seemed. I'm sure the PTSD didn't mix with the potion well, though. After she killed Soren, she just wandered off alone. Some ponies found Soren's body the next morning, and they got so freaked out, they canceled commemoration.
What?
Yep. Soon as I heard Dash had gone missing and a pony was dead, I knew the rest of y'all wouldn't be far behind. Unlike with her, I made sure I was around for every pony else's eventual
So, she's saying let's go in order, which means that we are going in the order of when the ponies lost their minds. So Dash lost her mind first. This story did not play in order. Got it.
I also promised the mayor I would tell you about Soren and the cancellation. Ponies just figured you were in mourning when you didn't say nothing. Frankly, Mayor was kinda shocked to see me since I usually boycott Ponyville around this time of year. I don't live under your roof or your rules anymore, so you can't force me to go. In fact, I've secretly spent the past couple commemorations with Applejack. You know, the reason for your disgusting cover-up holiday.
Even though Apple Bloom spoke with conviction,
she really got
Twilight
him.
was still convinced this was all an elaborate lie. There was just no way any of it could be true.
Nope, you're wrong
Hanging on
again.
to that hope was the only thing keeping Twilight quiet and somewhat sane.
First things first, I was the one who intercepted the note about AJ's escape. I was gonna wait until I was sure you were ready before I gave Starlight that letter.
Okay.
But I got impatient.
Okay.
See, the thing is, revenge, it stirs around inside you like an angry critter, butting and clawing to get out. Lucky for me, my timing ended up being just right anyways. You were stressed out just enough to break. Seems you didn't even know I was there. Of course, you're the one who can fill in those blanks. What happened when Starlight showed you that later?
Twilight immediately recalled that first prickly tendril of dread that encompassed her chest, and the frantic events that followed. If Apple Bloom was to be believed, then AJ was never in her lab at all, which meant
she was never there.
It for nothing. But that couldn't be true.
I know I said this before and I figured it out before. They've been fighting Ghost. Everyone has been fighting Ghost. All the main six have been fighting Ghost. Oh my god.
Could it? And hadn't AJ so clearly slaughtered Starlight?
She was just here.
Words echoed in Twilight's mind. Words that she did not remember Starlight saying, but somehow felt familiar.
She was just here! She ambushed me!
Terrifying pieces were falling into place. Starlight barricading her door with magic out of fear. Twilight blasting in. Starlight looking frantic.
I tried to barricade my door, but she got through! You don't think she's here to replace me, do you?
Oh, no, no,
Those
no!
words.
Not
She
like
thought
this!
They came from Applejack. Twilight's breath quickened as her body began to shake. More and more images replaced memories. Truths replaced delusions. Twilight jolting towards Starlight with a shard of mirror. Starlight confused and trying to run away.
It's okay. I didn't really expect you to tell me anyways. I was there for the last bit, though. It looked like Starlight was gonna win out with that dresser of hers.
And that's when you hit Twilight on the back of the head with the thing.
But you were
Right?
quicker. You slit her throat before she could drop it on you.
The sharp pain. She had passed out, hadn't she?
How could Starlight hurt me if she had already died?
Twilight asked.
She died. It dropped. Simple
Oh,
as that.
shit! I didn't know. Okay,
You
never
laid
mind.
there on the ground for a long while, and I considered curing you right then and there, seeing how you already killed and all. Thing is, you were the first one I could observe up close, and you used to always harp on me about taking extensive notes on my potion experiments. Isn't knowledge the true power, Twilight?
Applebloom asked, adding a dark enthusiasm to the question just to torment her former teacher.
No. No, I immediately came here! To the orchard! I know I did!
No, it's
Twilight
not.
insisted.
No, it is not.
It was in that moment, in that unbridled panic, that Applebloom could finally confirm that Twilight had accepted her explanations as truths.
Yeah, I'll bet you did. 'Cause you eventually staggered up, covered in Starlight's blood, and zapped yourself away. You went missing too. I was kinda pissed off that I couldn't see what you were gonna do next, though. I figured for the rest of y'all, I'd cure them when they'd done something unforgivable, rather than have 5 morons bumbling around my family's orchard. I told you, the potion fucks with your sense of time.
Twilight felt an uncanny and well-timed grumble in her stomach. She could faintly taste apples on her tongue, and more images flashed in her mind. Twilight recalled.
Now, I just want to say this picture of Twilight is really haunting. Because just of this little, like, light pinprick in her eye. I made the post in Scribbler's Discord server, I'll say it here again. This version of Twilight, she looks like a lighthouse. And the light at the top is getting very fucking dim. You know what I mean? Like,
Wandering aimlessly, unable to distinguish one grove of trees from another. An endless sea of apple trees was her unrelenting prison. The maze of their paths offered no guidance. She recalled teleporting on occasion, but with no clear thought of where to appear, and ending up in places with more unfamiliar apple trees each time.
so she's just been wandering for days.
The only reason the alicorn did not perish was by eating the unkept apples in their gnarled branches.
She's been eating rotten apples this whole time?
Dim memories presented themselves of Twilight lingering at specific, yet inconsequential trees for hours on end. She could recall seeing slight movement in these trees, and her eyes fixated on them, waiting for that movement to morph into Applejack. She couldn't let her guard down after all. The AJ
There's
in her
the
mind
thumbnail.
was
Yep, that is
enhanced
the
with
thumbnail.
The great magic of Twilight's own making. On the rare occasion that she could pull her attention away from one tree to another, her hooves wandered in endless circles. She had seen hoofprints in grassless soil patches and believed them to be Applejack's tracks. She realized in this moment, however, she had been following her own hoofsteps. Twilight knew that finding the farmhouse at all must have been sheer coincidence.
Next, it was Pinkie Pie.
Oh,
I think
no.
it was 5 days after Dash went missing that she finally broke. She'd made so many desserts, she was baking every pony out of house and home. The cakes probably didn't know what to make of it, truth be told. I got to the bakery with the cure when the place was already engulfed in flames. Pound was screaming about Pinky killing his mama and his daddy still being inside. Of course, by then they couldn't save him. Pumpkin's lucky she got out in time. They're in Manhattan right now, I think, living with some distant relative or something. Pinky's got some real bad burns to heal up before she can face the princesses, though.
Pinky.
Twilight whispered woefully. She wished she could tell Apple Bloom
Look
to
at how
stop,
they massacred
but
my
she
mare!
just wanted to know what happened to her friends.
But what about Rarity? And Fluttershy?
Yep, they succumbed too. In that order, actually. Rarity lasted about a week and ended up killing Sweetie. She wrote guilty all over the walls in her blood.
This is such
At
a
least we could
good
agree
way
on
to
that
end
part.
this.
Her guilt, that is.
I'm still
Afterwards,
reeling off of this twist.
she
I like
spilled
it
her
so much.
guts out to me about, well, darn near everything. Do you know that she was there that night 7 years ago and could have prevented all of this?
Damn.
I was, bit sad she was already in Town Hall's holding cell when she confessed. Had I known that earlier, well, things might have gone a little different.
But Sweetie Belle was your friend!
Twilight protested.
No.
As if there would be some
No,
kind of
no.
logic to snap Apple Bloom out of this cold, calculated callousness.
She ain't my
Gosh.
friend. She and Scootaloo abandoned me. You ought to know that. Scoots claimed it was too difficult to see me like this. And Sweetie? Well, she eventually blamed me for what happened.
Damn.
Up as far as I care.
Who was this monster? And how could she be wearing Apple Bloom's skin? Twilight had done everything she could think to do for this young mare.
Yeah, Sweetie Belle's
She was a
fucked up.
shoulder to cry on, a guiding hoof in her academic pursuits. She encouraged Apple Bloom to expand her horizons and rise above her pain. Where exactly had she failed her?
Last but not least, Fluttershy.
Apple Bloom said with
Oh my
a sigh, getting a little tired from the long-winded narrative, but still secretly reveling in it.
She broke about 2 weeks in and had been starving her animals for Celestia knows how long. Before she started babbling all nonsense like, she mentioned running into Angel and snapping his neck on accident. Her critters retaliated, but of course that just led to more critter death. You know, it's funny, 'cause all things considered, her crimes were the least, well, damning.
That's why that chatter, when I was watching like the first 2 chapters, that's why they pointed out that the animals were like, no, what are you doing? Stop. Like, no, what are you doing? It was all just a dream.
Strange thing though, I cured Fluttershy. But that didn't stop her from babbling nonsense and flailing about.
Yeah, it's too late.
I tell you, it didn't make any sense, but oh well. She ended up in the loony bin anyway.
You fucked her up beyond
Fluttershy's in the
cop
mental
fixing.
hospital?
Twilight whispered, feeling a pang in her chest for her friend.
Fluttershy was just
Yep.
like that.
Gonna stay there, most like. Who knows? The others might join her, depending on how their trials go.
Apple Bloom added. She readjusted in the chair before continuing on.
I gotta admit, it's been a mighty interesting few weeks. Since you and the princesses weren't around to investigate the new deaths and disappearances, the Canterlot Guard had to come poking about. Obviously, they were gonna check Sweet Apple Acres. I'd already taken care of their memories from the escape, so it was just a matter of convincing them that I hadn't seen AJ about. I didn't always work though, so I was making potions double time to throw them off our scent. Think Luna Guards is stupid, and their pea brains are susceptible to potions. But I got worried that while I was busy watching your friends and waiting for them all to break, some pony would poke about where they ought not. So I planted them flowers and set some traps around the farm. Besides, I was killing 2 birds with 1 stone, knowing that you and Dash would eventually stumble about these parts. Kinda crazy it was at the same time, though, huh?
Yeah.
Dash is in town hall right now with Rarity, waiting on the princesses. I think Ponies wanted to find you first, hoping you'd riddle out why your friends had gone so nutso. It's gonna be interesting to see what they say when they find your body instead.
It's over.
Had Apple Bloom just said what she thought
It's
she
over.
said? Twilight's
over.
blood ran cold.
It's
and
so
a deafening
fucking
thumping
over,
in
dude.
her head increased with every rapid heartbeat.
Apple Bloom, please!
Twilight couldn't think of the right way to beg for her life. This wasn't her little student assistant.
Wait, I have something else for this. I got a bit for this.
You're a fucking idiot. This needs to stop. Now.
Oh boy. I added that in like about a week ago. I never used it until now.
Assistant and protege. This was a monster pretending to be Apple Bloom, and monsters were difficult to appeal to.
I considered letting you live like the others and getting put away for life, but I just don't trust the princesses not to go easy
I had to
on
spring
ya.
it on Twilight.
They
Like
just seem like
she thought she could just brush all this up under the rug. And it came back to bite her in the ass in the worst possible way. I love this story.
Time to pull some stupid loophole shit and set you free somewhere. True, you'd have to live with the guilt, but that just ain't good enough for me. No. While you draw breath, I can't find peace.
Apple Bloom finished,
This
relieved
beautiful
the
bitch.
explanations had finally ended.
It wasn't my fault! I warned Applejack about possible side effects, but she took it anyway! I knew I should have gone to the orchard with her and shake the trees myself, but the princesses needed me! The drought was more important than some zap apples, or so I thought! I was wrong, okay? Wrong! But I'm not the one who murdered ponies for revenge! I'm not the one who tried to hurt her friends and loved ones! I'm not the one who crippled you!
Twilight shouted, throwing every piece of logic she had left at Apple Bloom, hoping something would stick.
Wait a minute. I think Lost has used this music cue before. Let me see. Let's see.
Shouted, throwing every
No, we need
piece
to go
of
back
logic.
further.
One who crippled you!
Twilight shouted, throwing every piece of logic she had left at Apple Bloom, hoping something would stick. Apple Bloom didn't respond. She calmly reattached her device around her waist and walked to the side of the room previously obscured by medical equipment. An old dirt-encrusted shovel was then slowly brought into sight, clutched firmly in Apple Bloom's hoof. It wasn't the shovel. Rainbow Dash had disposed
Oh wait, I got it
of
wrong.
that ages ago, but it was fitting enough. She glanced down at her
Yeah,
target,
Sweet Dreams. I know what that
a
song
firm, set
is.
grimace on her face.
I don't care. You betrayed her. You left her to rot, thinking y'all could just sweep it under the rug and forget it. You threw her away like she was nothing. Funny
did
how
do that.
friendship don't mean shit without honesty, huh?
Apple Bloom!
Damn, alright, okay.
Twilight Sparkle's plea was interrupted mid-sentence when the pony wielding the shovel hit her hard across the face, knocking her out cold. Apple Bloom methodically locked her wheels into place, then casually placed the sharpened blade of the shovel to the ropes that bound Twilight's hooves. It took a bit of time and elbow grease, but eventually the spade of the shovel cut her ropes. Twilight's body flopped flatly onto the floor, making her into an easy target. Apple Bloom paused for only a second before she lifted the shovel above the alicorn's body. There was no going back. With a grunt of effort, the shovel came down hard and pierced the fur of Twilight's torso. Soon after,
Do what you came to
Apple
do,
Bloom
Queen.
pried it up and thrusted it down again. This time, The blade made contact with the alicorn's left forehoof. The third strike nicked the stomach. Apple Bloom wasn't that great at aiming, seeing how each thrust was supposed to pierce
Oh, she'll
Twilight's
learn.
heart,
She's still young.
but
She'll learn.
She was surprised she hadn't drawn as much blood in her first few attempts. By the fourth thrust, Apple Bloom punctured an organ, and blood finally began to flow in surges.
Over. It's fucking over. Story is so good.
Movements went from calculated to crazed. She screamed and sobbed as all her bitterness and anger was funneled into the bloodied mare. That uncontrollable shake. It prevented her from keeping
Also
a proper
good art.
grip
This
on
is
the
also
shovel.
some really good art.
After a final thrust, Apple Bloom's assault ended. The shovel escaped her grasp, tumbling haphazardly onto the crimson and violet mass. She glanced in slight disbelief at what she had done. The blood splattered and stained on her sunny coat. Apple Bloom's heart was pounding in her chest as she stood motionless and loomed over the lump that used to be Twilight Sparkle. After a few minutes, she blinked rapidly to snap herself back to reality. She'd told Twilight that she'd perfected the sleepless potion, but the foolish princess hadn't asked her what that meant. Changing some ingredients here and there, and microdosing her own exposure, had kept the Earth Pony awake since the beginning of her vengeful quest. She couldn't afford to sleep and have Princess Luna stumble upon her dreams, all of which centered around her anticipated actions. And Apple Bloom was convinced it was the dreamless potion she had been slowly feeding into Applejack's sleeping body. It couldn't possibly be anything else, even if the magical monitor that showed the brain activity had been consistently silent. No, there was a potion to fix just about everything. She'd just have to work harder. Apple Bloom took a slow breath to compose herself. She knew she ought to dispose of the body the way she had planned. The trouble was, her frenzied attack had completely sapped Apple Bloom of energy. Melting skin, tissue, and bone in a specialty mix acidic vat of potion.
You guys
would
hear
have
my
to
cat
wait.
just wailing?
It seemed.
All right, we still have a little bit of this thing to get through. After this is done, I'll show you the cat.
Ponies wouldn't be finding a body after all. Apple Bloom's hooves dragged on the floor as she walked and wheeled towards her sister's bed. She gently pressed the latch on the contraption around her waist, freeing herself from it as she awkwardly climbed into the bed beside her sister. Apple Bloom snuggled AJ from atop the covers, burying her face in her mane as she had done so many times as a filly.
You can wake up, Applejack? Please? Please wake up.
She whispered softly and lovingly to her big sis.
You were right. I should have listened to you. I'm sorry. I just couldn't let it go.
We never know if she woke up. It's really good. It's really, really good. It's really good. It's really well done. Oh, man. You have made a monster. And you will reap what you sow. Fuck yeah, that ending was good. I love that ending, dude. Holy shit. So there's an end credit thing. Oh, okay, cool. And now I gotta wait for that. Wait till the end. Alright, I'm not going anywhere. Why'd you use this picture of Miss Cake? Why'd you do that? Also, the corpse of Miss Cake was ice glazed. Mag, this story is twisted. Scribbler Productions is Twilight's narrator. Life on Cloud 9 is Pinky's narrator. They all had separate narrators for all their stories? Did I just Goody is Rarity's narrator. Okay, I knew Goody was Rarity's narrator. They all had separate narrators? Can't believe I'm figuring that shit out now. I use that pick a miss cake because I'm reminding everyone who died. Alright, what do you got for me? All the art? Yeah, we gotta credit the artist here, chat. Art was really good. I'm still jazzed up off of that twist, dude. It was a really good twist. Really well done. I'm gonna be thinking about that for like a while. Just the way this came to an end. So they were all fighting Ghost, which means that Applejack wasn't really fighting, or Rainbow Dash wasn't really fighting anyone. Which means that she just fought nothing and then tired herself out from exhaustion. She's dead. Pinky is awaiting trial. Rarity is awaiting trial. Fluttershy is in the nut house. I'm missing someone. What pony am I missing? Rainbow Dash, Applejack. No, Rainbow Dash, Rarity. Rainbow Dash, Rarity. Starlight. Starlight died. Spike left. Fluttershy is in the loony bin. Pinky has severe burns. I'm missing a pony. Right? Rarity is awaiting trial, but she's also crazy. Pinky has severe burns and is also waiting. No, I got all of them. Alright. I'm talking myself in circles. You beautiful little fucking demon. She'll go to hell and back for her sister. RD is awaiting trial. Okay, got it. Jesus, and this is also like haunting. This is haunting. Sweetie Belle is a lot more fucked up than we initially thought. Fluttershy is in the loony bin, even though she has the cure. She was just too fucked up to be normal again.
Hey everyone, Mag and I wanted to take a moment and thank each and every one of you.
Thank you so much to the artists whose incredible talents and imaginations brought life to this story.
Thank you to the voice actors who brought their A game, and the performances were just phenomenal from you all. Thank you.
Thank you to all the wonderful fan art pieces from this story and its predecessor. As an author, I'm forever grateful and in awe that Apple Sleep could inspire so much creativity outside of the videos we create and the written word.
In fact, we've received so many fan art pieces that it would have been nearly impossible to include them all in this video. So instead, we're going to showcase each and every one of them in the 4-part podcast series talking about this story and the project.
We want to go into some nitty-gritty details and really dive deep into the world of Apple Sleep. It rhymed. So keep an eye out for that in the coming weeks. We need a little break first.
I would imagine you do.
Too many apples, not enough sleeping over here.
Maybe it added to the method acting, I don't know. But finally, we want to thank you, the viewer. Without you, none of this would have been possible.
Let's go.
So we hope that you enjoyed this experience.
Yay! Special thanks! Yay! There's a little tick going on. She's gonna wake up. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh. Oh. Listen, it's a grimdark. It's a grimdark. It's a grimdark. There's no happy endings here. If she would have woke, it wouldn't have been a grimdark. I just hope Apple Bloom can find peace. All right. I maybe that moment will be a little tougher, but I think she'll be fine. Anyway, you guys want to see my cat? Let's go get my cat, who's been yowling for like 2 hours. Excuse me, miss. Hello, you little bastard. Alright, get over here. My audience wants to see you. There she is. She's the adorable pain in my ass. Jesus. Really good ending, really good story. I want to believe that, like, you know what? I'm not even going to coast on the fact that it's a grimdark that Applejack died. You know what I want to believe? I want to believe that, like, I want to believe that since Apple Bloom got peace, that Applejack can pass peacefully. You know what I mean? Like, I want to believe that, oh, at that point, Applejack was like, all right, now I can die. Now that you have gotten revenge in my name, I can now pass on. I don't have to be here anymore. You got it. You outplayed the Princess of Friendship. I think I can leave you here on this earth by yourself. You're going to do just fine, kiddo. You're an apple. You're going to do just fine. You're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. All right. End stream time. Thank you all for joining me. My name is Wolfhead Brony. I'm going to react to something. I want to react to something the Cloud9 did. She did a thing. Why are you yelling at me? You're in. What? You are such an attention whore. You're like Rarity. Actually, that's not accurate. In the later seasons, she got a little bit more independent. But yeah, thank you for watching. Good story. I'll be around to react to more stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.